All right, sweet.
We are gaming.
We are indeed gaming, and it is spectacular. All right.
I was going to say, I was gaming this evening, and it was not a good time. Foreshadowing.
Oh no, foreshadowing. We know what Retro's opinion is. All right, so welcome everyone to the third episode of the Juicecast. I am Juice. What we do on this podcast is we take a deep dive into games, both our subjective experiences and also just a deep analysis, usually going with the development process, the gameplay, and story, or what the game could have been in the future. So today I have with me two guests, and one of them is just Lemris, and the other one is Retropolis Zone. So I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hey, I'm Lemurs. I play video games too fast. I played the Sonic Adventure series for an unhealthy long amount of time, and these games are like I'm basically this game's encyclopedia.
Okay, so Lemris is going to be able to help us with the fact-checking and stuff. That's good. Yeah, I'm Michael from Metropolis Zone, and I make game reviews on YouTube, and I've played Sonic for all my life, but recently I kind of grew out of it, and this man, Juice, he asked me to talk about Sonic Heroes with him. For some reason, he had to pick Heroes and not SA2, but here I am.
Yes.
I'm happy to be here, though.
Good. I'm glad. It didn't sound like it for a second there.
I'm happy. It's good.
Like, just get out of here already. What are you doing?
So yeah, I've played this game. I guess we'll start by going over our personal history with Sonic Heroes. That's usually what we do to start off. So I guess I'll start off with that. And I played this game as a kid on the Nintendo GameCube. Thankfully, I did not have the PlayStation 2 version of it. I played it after Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. I kind of played Sonic Adventure SA2, Sonic Heroes, Shadow the Hedgehog, and Sonic Mega Collection Plus all around the same time. Sonic Mega Collection Plus I did have on PS2. Now, I went from Sonic Adventure 2 to this game, and I believe that me and my buddy did like a game trade where he gave me Sonic Heroes and I gave him Four Swords Adventures or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's how I got a hang of it. So I came off of my first playthrough of like Sonic Adventure 2 and like playing around with the Chao Garden and whatnot, and I went to this, and even as a kid, I kind of knew that there was something off with this game. To me, like it kind of felt like I was dying a lot to nonsense, and I kind of even got a little frustrated. Like I couldn't beat it for the longest time, and I was able to beat the other Sonic games. It's like I can't beat Final Fortress. Why can't I beat Final Fortress with Team Dark at all? What's wrong? I just remember struggling a lot with the game, but I did have fun with it still. I was still a little bit interested in what the game was doing, and I liked the overall levels, how they're designed and stuff like that, like the environments. So other than that, Sonic Heroes was probably the first like YouTube video I made on a video game, which is when I started my like first YouTube channel, and I went into like how the game was developed and my opinions on it. And that was actually the only game that I did in that format before moving on to other things. And then other than that, so I've played through the game like a couple times, and then recently, like in the last couple of days, I played it again on GameCube. Well, not the full thing. I played through Team Sonic, and I played through half of Team Chaotix, so not that much. But with the way that the game is designed, that's plenty for me to like get a hang of what the game is trying to do, since Team Dark and Team Rose are essentially Team Sonic, but with either more or less bullshit. And Team Chaotix is a very different gameplay style, so I wanted to separate them like that to get the most out of it. So that's my history with Sonic Heroes. It's not like the most in-depth, but I do have history with it, and I have played it since I was a kid, so...
With my history with this game, it's actually kind of interesting. A lot of people know me as being the Sonic Adventure guy. Funny enough, Heroes was actually my first like Sonic game I got to own physically myself. I still remember as a kid, I got a GameCube, and I got Sonic Heroes and Monkey Ball 1 together as a Christmas present. And I remember I spent too long just like running through the same stages over and over for no reason. And then like 3 years come by, and you get to 2007. I see speedruns of this game. Well, back then they were just little small. I guess they called them time attacks back in 2007. And I was like, I like this. And then I grinded the game, grinded it, played like garbage. But hey, I was having fun. And then I remember when I went to a school book fair, they had these cheat books. Remember those cheat code books that would have all the cheat codes for a bunch of games? I remember one of them. They would have for Heroes that you could unlock the 2 players like secret metallic characters in 1-player mode if you 100% the game. So I made it my goal, my mission, 100% the game. I spent I don't know how many hours, like maybe 30 or something as a kid, finally doing it, getting super hard mode, beating it, and then I go to the game. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
I had never been more disappointed in my life.
That sounds like something made up on like the old game FAQs or whatever those websites were.
Yeah,
where they
like
just have this
GameFAQs,
huge
GCC.
list. Yeah.
They always copy and pasted those cheats. Everything else on the list was correct. Like they would have Easter eggs or glitches.
Yeah.
Those all worked. Like if you use Team Blast on a pole and then hit the button, you spin up it even though there's nothing showing, which I thought was funny. And I wanted to get the metal characters. I never got them. I was so disappointed.
Damn.
But hey, it made me want to speedrun it, so I guess that's a win.
First heartbreak in his life, maybe.
For real though.
I guess that brings us to my history with the game. Okay, so I grew up on Sonic on Mega Drive because I'm a European, and I have a lot of memories of just like playing Sonic 1, 2, and 3 on the Mega Drive, and the Mega Drive was usually at my grandparents', so I would play the Mega Drive when I was over there. And at my parents' house, we had like a PlayStation 1, and we got, I remember we got a GameCube for, I think, holidays 2002. That was when Mario Sunshine came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was the year of Mario Sunshine, so I got a GameCube with Sunshine and Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. And I played, both of them to death. SA2, I remember back in the day almost 100%ing it, but I think my save file corrupted when I was at like 170 emblems or something.
Yikes.
Oh.
So that was a lot of progress lost, and I had to go back years and years and years later to finally get all the emblems. But from SA2, I moved over to Heroes, and I honestly can't remember much about like Heroes, what I thought of it as a kid at all, and I don't have all that many memories of playing it. I do remember that at one point we went on like vacation to France, it was, and we brought the GameCube with us, and I think I remember playing it a lot, and I was aiming to get all the A ranks as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I got it back then. I think I did, but I'm not sure. I've definitely gotten it since, but I can't remember if I got it back then. But I probably thought the game rocked because as a kid, I thought every Sonic game rocked. when Sonic 06 came out, I jammed with that shit, So
I
don't
cannot
know.
say the same. That
Oh,
game.
really?
No, I mean,
Oh,
I played
really?
it a little
No.
bit later. I probably didn't play it until like 2009 or 2010 or something like that.
That changes everything.
Yeah, and I mean, I still rock with it, but the thing that got me about Sonic 06 was even back then it was like the loading screens and like the just I'm going to do this very small, minute thing, and then it's another super long loading screen. Like I was just making fun of it even as a kid. I was like, this is horrible. Please.
Yeah, but I mean, as a kid, I had all the time in the world. I had to do my
True.
well, I don't. 2006. Yeah, I had homework.
I
think so.
I always found it funny for me with 06 because when the next generation of games came out, I always thought when I was younger they were perfectly polished. You cannot break a modern game.
Yeah.
And I never got to have 06 until like 2011 when I was in the hospital and they just had a PS3 for us to play. I was like, oh my god, they have Sonic 06. I need to play this. I never got to play it. It looks so cool. And I played it. My only memories of that, I just kept dying in Wave Ocean.
Beautiful.
I just remember a game over in Wave Ocean's Moxby. I'm like, oh, so this is
This is good.
so this is the game. I thought it was the next generation. I thought these games were perfect. What happened? Oh, little Timmy. That's not how the world works.
Yeah. Okay, so now that we have like a brief history of each of us with Sonic Heroes, I guess maybe we can start to get into the development of this game, if you want to tackle this before we get into strict gameplay. So from what I understand about this game, it was developed in, I don't know if the straight goal was we're going to get a Sonic game out on all platforms, or if that was just like a secondary goal, but I know that it was definitely something that hindered this game's development.
It was definitely one of those because they used renderware, and to those who don't know, renderware is like pretty much every early to mid 2000s like engine. Like GTA used it, Persona used it, Sonic Heroes used it. Like a good amount of series just back in that era just loved that engine because it worked well on other platforms. And people like to say, "Oh, but the PS2 version's bad," but which is really ironic to me because renderware is meant to be an engine for the PS2, and I always found that kind of interesting how the engine it was made for is the one that runs the worst.
Do we think that the game was developed for the PS2 first, or was it GameCube first because
I think GameCube was target platform for the entire gen.
Funnily enough, I'm pretty sure the prototype builds after the GameCube version they're all dated, and I'm pretty sure the PS2 was the most recent one next to the GameCube when it was first starting development. So I'm very certain that PS2 was meant to be a better build. It just couldn't because of its they just had to have the frame rate because of the hardware.
I feel like when you look at all the Sonic 6 gen games, I feel like the GameCube ones are consistently the most well-rounded and polished, quote unquote, for Sonic games of that era. But like even Sonic Riders feels like it. Like even on Xbox, Sonic Riders misses a few effects, and I think Sonic Heroes as well. Like the moving walkways or something in the city level, I don't think they move on Xbox. I think they're missing that shader, for example.
They move, they just don't have their effects. A lot of versions of the game are missing certain types of artifacts. Like PS2 is missing like almost half of the translucent textures and stuff. Xbox has a few of them. I think some of them are actually missing on 360 because it wasn't able to render them for some reason. But GameCube's kind of like the in-between where it has most of them. And then PC does like everything.
But the PC version is an interesting one because I feel that's what we've been able to gather anyway. Jeb and King K, the previous gang from SA2 is that we think that the PC version is based on earlier build because it has additional glitches and stuff.
There is a reason for that. So they had used builds of the not fully, because you know how when GTA 5 came out on PC, it was like a year later after the console versions? Heroes was kind of the same way. It came out a little bit after the other versions because they had to stabilize it. And when they did that, what they used was the builds from the older versions of the game, and it's closer to the 10.8 beta version. And if you've never seen that version of the game, if you know the glitch in Sonic Heroes PC where you can just glide extremely high, the prototype version of the game on GameCube has that to where you not only glide really high, if you keep holding A, you will glide for infinity. You will get as much height as you need. And that is technically still prominent in the PC version, but it stops you at a certain, it has a, what's the word I'm looking for? It has like a flag or a fail-safe, so you don't actually get it stops your speed basically. And the PC version has also some logs of the files and the dates in it where they do line up with more of the prototype builds of the GameCube version, like their prototype builds, which is why people thought the PC version was one of the early versions, but no, it's just because they were using files from one of the older GameCube versions, not the fully released one.
Yeah, because I
That's
remember
strange.
like Grand Metropolis, the one where you go around a loop many times and then you go into a building, you know, the glass that you shoot into. I always flip through the ramp on PC. That never happened on any other version.
A lot of loops, almost actually no, all the loops are missing a lot of their like slowdown triggers because you're meant to hit a certain point and it just like stops your speed, so you go a little bit slower so you don't overshoot, because when you go too fast in this game you face through objects.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen a lot in a lot of places.
I was trying to, in my recent playthrough of like Team Sonic and stuff like that, I was trying to like phase through certain doors because I'm pretty sure you can do that in Sonic Heroes, right? If you go fast enough.
You can theoretically clip through every door in the game.
Okay, yeah, I was trying to do that by timing the Rocket XL jumps. Like, I know you want to like jump before the Rocket XL goes off if you're like holding it, but I couldn't clip through any of them. I did like damage boost through the VIP room lasers by accident, and
oh yeah, that's actually really easy to do. Funny enough, you can for Sonic, you can just light dash into it. You'll take damage, but it pushes you in anyway, so you don't have to do anything. You're already in.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what happened to me. And
that sounds like Mario 64 with the BLJs. Doesn't that work in the same way, where if you are in front of the door and then your speed like so overshoots that in the next frame it's just like, I'll put you behind the door.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, it's because
except the difference is for this, it's just a regular gameplay mechanic of doing the light dash.
Yeah, in Mario 64, you have to build up your speed past the cap by using negative speed, which they didn't account for.
By setting your ass on the staircase. Yeah.
I keep telling people that's not a glitch in Heroes. It's an intended mechanic.
Yeah, clearly. I was like, oh, this is the first time I've been to this VIP room because I never got into it as a kid, and I was like, oh, I got into it by accident. Like
you have to
now.
with Chaotix, right? Yeah.
As Chaotix?
Yeah, because you have to with FPO.
I think for them, they actually have a flat one of the not the flowers. Yeah, one of the flowers that you can use that brings you up to the VIP room. I just almost never actually see that section because in the speed run, you kind of just stay in the spawn area and you're done. But I found it interesting how both Chaotix and Team Rose do have voice clips for entering the VIP room. And Team Rose especially is interesting because they can't get to the VIP room. You physically cannot make that unless you like do a very precise like glitch and like extended jump
or cheat or hacks. Yeah.
Well, they have voice clips.
Yeah, I actually covered those when I did the video because I liked to go through a bunch of uncut stuff and glitches. So I went over, like, in that first video that I was talking about that I made. So I actually went over the unused voice clips and like the changes between demos and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure Amy was originally supposed to have like a different tornado, and same with SPO or something like that.
Yep, they're actually still in the game files.
Yeah.
You can do that, and funny enough, when you do that with SPO, he does still turn invisible. But here's the funny thing: so does Amy. Amy turns invisible when you use that.
Interesting. I mean, that would just be part of her magic tricks, maybe.
I mean, hey, she had it in 06, so...
Yeah, that is true.
Right,
Game theory.
See, that's the kind of stuff I found really interesting. I love that stuff.
I like to think that they wanted to have Amy be invisible in the game, but they couldn't find a way where it made sense.
Yeah.
But then they did it in 06 anyway, and it still didn't make sense.
Yeah, but that's because that was another... Maybe, yeah, but Sonic 06 we know is like an unfinished, like, just mess, so... Maybe they had like another reason for it in 06 as well, but they just decided to leave it in instead of taking it out or something. Who knows?
I mean, well, this is off topic. We're getting on to Sonic 06, but I heard that the game literally shipped in an earlier build because the most recent build kept crashing or whatever. So they had to ship an old one.
Yeah, they did.
Like, god damn.
Yeah.
That's sad.
It was
That's
even
really sad.
I'm pretty sure it was further back than the ones that they showed at, like, I don't know if it was E3 or another game showing, but...
Not everything that was there was fully back, just a good amount of content in it was not like the updated versions in it. It's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah.
Still, that's sad. Damn.
It is sad, but I'm sure we'll talk about what could have been in Sonic 06 when we get to the Sonic 06 one. Which, by the way, anyone who's ever been on a podcast on here for a Sonic game is invited back for the Sonic 06. It's going to be just as much of a mess as the game itself. So,
heck yeah.
So yeah, I would I know going back to development. I know some of the statements that we have from the developers on this game, like Azuka, like losing weight during this development process. I'm pretty sure it's as much as like 20 pounds or something crazy like that. I could be wrong on that fact, but I know like that kind of seems like this game was definitely rushed, or the team was definitely not healthy while they were working on this game.
No.
They had a lot of development struggles trying to get it to work on all platforms, and I feel like, I don't know, when I think about the development of this game, I just think of, like, why didn't they make more levels and, like, just take a little bit more focus instead of spreading it out? So we're going to have, like, 4 different teams. We're going to have this hard mode and super hard mode. We're going to have this 2-player mode. It seems like they had too much pressure from the previous games going into Heroes, even though like they specifically wanted it to not be another adventure game. Like, that was a key point that I'm pretty sure
they knew people liked the adventure style gameplay, and they wanted to find a way to merge the things they liked in SA1 and the things they liked in SA2 and try to get them together, which is why you play stages as all the teams, because they already did that in SA1, and I guess they thought that was a better idea, an easier idea than making completely new levels for every character, kind of like what SA2 did.
Mm-hmm.
But they just, I guess because every zone had to have the same geometry, the only thing they could do to actually make it unique for everybody would just be changing the object layout, which, I mean, it gets the job done, and I do like that they have exclusive sections for certain characters, but I do feel like they could have done a lot more variety with those unique areas. Like, let's say, for instance, Hang Castle, that stage is almost different for every team.
Yeah.
And, like, especially for Team Chaotix, like, you'll extra sections that, like, is, like, at the end of the level halfway through just to, like, sneak through to get a key. Like, I like things like that. You don't expect it. You don't realize, oh, now I'm here. Like, They had a lot more they could have done with things like that, and especially, like, Team Chaotix is probably the best they did with it by changing all the layouts. But I think Team Sonic and Team Dark are too similar to where it just feels like I'm playing the same thing again. Yeah. Like, the only thing different with Team Dark is that you sometimes start farther back than usually, or they just have enemies that have more powerful shields.
Yeah, which is just more annoying. And, like, when I play a Sonic game, it's like, I don't want to be like that guy who's like, yeah, go fast, but I'm also just like, I want to maintain my momentum throughout the stages, and Team Dark is just like the epitome of breaking your momentum more because of the enemies have more shields, and sometimes you have to fight them. So,
and it really adds insult to injury that Omega's movement likes to slide for every punch.
Yeah.
And when you're on very steep platforms, that is a terrifying thing.
I'm sure we can get into that shit.
Yeah,
we'll get
into that when we get into the gameplay, because that screwed me up in Final Fortress, even with Team Sonic, and I was playing as Knuckles, and I was just like sliding off and dying.
Yeah, like, I think what Lemurs was saying about, like, how they could have done more with the stages being different. Sonic 3 and Knuckles does that with the Knuckles routes, right?
Yeah.
Knuckles
and in Mania they did that as well.
Yeah. Knuckles can gain... Tails is basically the same, but Tails can fly. But Knuckles has, like, entire new sections, and some of the levels are completely different for Knuckles in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, so that's kind of what, would have been difficult for 4 teams, but
I wish
kind of ideally what you want.
That's kind of my thing, where I'm like, with the amount of time that they had, which was clearly not as much as they should have for this game, I wish that they didn't have 4 teams. Like, I wish it was maybe like 2, where it was like Team Sonic and Team Chaotix or something like that, and just leave it at that. As much as I like characters in Sonic, I don't want to be like that guy who's like, yeah, only Sonic, that's it, because I like the stories and I like the characters of the franchise. But at the same time, I'm like, you have to have a little bit more focus. instead of maybe adding more unique sections, you could even, well, you can do that. Plus, if you were just focusing on the two teams, maybe you could add a couple more levels as well and kind of just expand on that core gameplay, maybe make it a little bit less janky, maybe make the sense of momentum a little bit more clear. That would be my thing with Sonic Heroes. I feel like the fact that it has 4 teams definitely holds it back from the fact that they could have just focused on a couple gameplay styles.
I feel like this is a theme that you see in a lot of Sonic games where it feels like they always are pressured for time, almost always. I know SA2 was rushed, Heroes was rushed, 06 was rushed, and they're always pretty pressured, but they always try to cram in so much different stuff, like, and this even, you can see this in Unleashed, where you have tornado shooting sections, you have a werehog, you have hub worlds, you have like hot dog missions, you have the daytime stages, you know. It's like there's so much stuff in these games when it feels like they probably could pare it down a bit so that they can get more focus in, as Juice said, which I think you even see in SA1. I've always said for SA1,
I mean, that's where it starts.
They put way too much shit in there, way too much for their first 3D game. I mean, it's ambitious, but
that's
if you
where
look
it
at the game now,
yeah.
you feel it. You feel it a lot that, you know, they like SA1. I think Sonic, you know, the segments are fun, but like in pretty much all the other gameplay styles, you can feel that they just didn't get enough development to really stand out, I think. And in Heroes, in some sense, it's better because all 4 teams are essentially the same.
Except for Chaotix, I would say. Like, it's the same, gameplay style with slight differences.
Yeah.
Like, okay, SBO can throw a shuriken.
Yeah. But
they could have... I feel like my issue when it comes to, like, different gameplay styles is, like, they wanted to have unique mechanics for everybody, but they were still having the issue of still feeling too similar. Like, Chaotix Shadow, they have no differences. They're the exact same type of tornado, but that's the texture. They can do the same exact length for the triangle jump. They're the same exact thing. The most unique characters are the power characters, and even then, there's only 2 differences. One can ground pound or belly flop, and the other ones can't. And that's it.
And doing the ground pound and belly flop is infinitely more fun than not, in my opinion.
Yeah, really.
Plus,
I mean, I'm trying to imagine how it would be for Knuckles to do it.
When you do the momentum shift between like doing the belly flop and then changing to the speed character when you land, it's like I remember seeing that in a speed run, and I was like, okay, this is actually really easy. Like I'm doing this when I did my Team Chaotix today. It's like, yeah, that's nice. I like that.
It's like they had the right idea of trying to make unique things, but they suffered from still keeping mechanics that made them too samey. Like they could have had the mechanic of Amy being like invisible. Like it would still technically be linking with SPO, but it's still different enough. Like her hammer is honestly really interesting. I actually really like the way her mechanic is with using the hammer because it acts as a tornado. Like, and with the form of when she like has a flutter, when she's like up in the air for long enough and you're holding A, she spins again and she can do more. That's a really interesting gameplay mechanic, and I really wish they did more things like that specifically because they had a lot of interesting things they could have done with each character. Like Shadow, for instance, he could have done like, I know it wasn't technically a thing until Sonic 06, but they could have done something similar to like what the Chaos Snap is, where you can like auto shoot to somebody to attack them. Like they could have done something like that, but he's just a texture hack of Sonic.
I was saying it but like that's the thing is like because they were also trying to make you use the fly-in power characters too. It's like how different are you going to make each character to the point where the other characters that they have in the triangle are going to be worth a damn? I would say that they would have to design around that too. And I brought this up during SA2 is I feel like Shadow should have had like a chaos control, whereas Sonic has the Sonic bounce. I mean, not the Sonic bounce, but he has the bounce bracelet.
Bounce bracelet.
Yeah, Sonic bounce.
That's a byproduct, I think, of the fact that Sonic had 6 stages in SA2 and Shadow had 4. Yeah. And every stage in SA2 has a power up, so Shadow was always gonna come up short on that front.
Yeah, for sure. It just reminded me of that. It was like,
yeah.
because in that game I feel like they could have pulled it off, but in this one it's like how many mechanics are you going to give the speed characters before
definitely.
they have to like rely on the other characters as well as the base gameplay mechanic
But
of
I
the
think-
entire game.
Yeah, I think that's a part where SA2, now that you bring that up, that's a really good point. I think in SA2 it's not really a problem, and the reason is that they are different stages. In
Yeah.
Heroes, they're all the same stages, you know, you're essentially basically playing the same game 4 times to get the true ending. And I think all of this would have been less of a problem if you just didn't need to play all 4 teams to actually fully complete the campaign, if that makes sense. Like how in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, you don't need to play as Tails and Knuckles to get to know Doomsday Zone.
Yeah.
So if you just stitch the Metal Sonic fight, onto the end of each campaign, I think that would have worked better. So that if you play the game and you're like, I want to replay it, let's play it as the other team.
Yeah,
But not as in like, you know.
One thing I actually kind of liked that a very interesting game choice, an idea that I liked was Sonic Riders. Funny enough, they had just the standard hero story. You know, you just get to this last stage, you're done. But with the Babylon story, you actually get to the true final boss, and you do everything like on there. I like the way it was linked with the story itself, and not like its own last story where you had to do certain requirements, like a track or something, to get to it.
Yeah.
No, it was just straight to it, and I really like that mechanic. Like, I get that you have to do the hero story anyway to even unlock Babylon story.
They make you do it first, right?
Yeah. But like Heroes could have done something in that nature where, let's just say hypothetically, you had all the 7 Chaos Emeralds when you beat Team Sonic like for the first time, and you can just go straight to the final boss.
Yeah,
that would have been really interesting.
Yeah, but that you can also and then maybe honestly it kind of messes with the theme of, you know, Sonic versus Metal Sonic, I guess, but it would have probably gameplay wise and structurally made more sense if you get all the Chaos Emeralds, you can just go to Metal Sonic for every team, or just for Team Sonic, and the other characters don't even have Chaos Emeralds, for example. I don't know.
I actually like the idea of what that. Yeah, I do like that idea. Like if you get all the Chaos Emeralds as one of the teams, and you go straight into the fight. Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like Super Shadow versus like Metal Sonic or something wouldn't be the same as maybe Super Sonic versus Metal. But who cares? They weren't trying to tell like a super deep story anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think that would have been fine. If you just get all the Chaos Emeralds in one of them instead of having to play all 4. This is a complaint that I had with the original Sonic Adventure as well. Like when we did the podcast of the last of Sonic Adventure, where we're thinking, like, I don't think Bigs should have been necessary. Maybe it should have been like a mini game baked into the other gameplay styles, where you go to see Big in the overworld and you do this fun little mini game and you unlock something for it. Maybe. And you don't have to do like every single story just to unlock the last story, which was kind of mediocre in the first place.
Yeah, I've always said just stitch it onto Sonic's campaign, because Sonic is the only one that's relevant in the Super Sonic campaign. Everybody else just stands there and does nothing. And Sonic is the one
Unfortunately, they should have done like a last level or something where they all have to go get the Chaos Emeralds again, and you actually use what you have played the entire time.
Why SA2 structurally is probably the best of these 3D games. Structurally, anyway.
Funny enough, I was going to say 06 because that's literally what they do in the last story.
Yeah, in 06 they do that, yeah.
The stage itself sucks, but yeah, structurally they have the right idea.
Yeah. Sonic Adventure 2, I really appreciate, like, going between Sonic Adventure 1 and Sonic Heroes. Not only because, like, I speedrun it and, like, I have an obvious bias because of that, but the game, like, is also probably the most structurally sound, in my opinion.
Yes.
Out of, like,
because, you know, yeah, you have 2 campaigns, but each of them have a different stage. It's like Act 1 and 2, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, SA2 is like, I mean, you could argue that some of the design choices are, like, made to pad out the game somewhat, like the radar, for example. I don't know if it was intended to be padding or not, but, like,
One thing...
SA2 doesn't have a lot of, like, fluff or filler, you know? It's like pretty...
One thing I can say that SA2 did right, that Heroes could have also like bounced off of, was a very like miscellaneous thing, but I found really cool was that in some stages in SA2, when you go as one character and then you go to another stage as one other character, you could see assets from that other stage in this stage. Like for instance, you could see parts of like Security Hall in what's that stage? Is Eggman? Lost Colony. You could see parts, or not Lost Colony. Weapons Bed. Not Weapons Bed. No, what is the first stage you play? Is Team Dark.
Iron Gate.
Iron Gate. Like if you go to like the Chow section, you could see the upper area. That's like the top part of Security Hall. I really like things like that. And like in the distance of Skyro, you can see Pumpkin Hill. Things like that are really cool. Like those are such small miscellaneous things, but it's really cool when they add like previous stage things into other stages as like little Easter eggs. Those are really nice like little add-ons.
Just like continuity for the world itself.
Exactly.
That you're playing in.
Now that we speak of like acts in that sense, right? Like our hero and Dark had acts in SA2. What if Sonic Heroes had maybe 2 or 3 campaigns instead, and each team got a separate act?
So that'd be interesting.
That'd be interesting, yeah.
So that like Team Sonic has Seaside Hill, and then Team Rose has a name we don't have, and
they could have had Seagate because they're considered the easy. They're considered the easy team.
Yeah.
They could have just done Seagate and be done with it.
Yeah, and then Team Dark got Ocean Palace, you know, and that, I guess 4 teams would have been a lot to have 4 stages per. But like normally, and like 2 acts per zone worked perfectly for the classic games. I think Sonic 1 with the 3 was too much.
I agree.
Since they're on separate stories in Sonic Heroes, I think 3 acts would not have felt too monotonous, actually.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Stages in Heroes, though, like because like when it came to like Chaotix, there were some stages you just flat out had no reason to do. It's like it's like just get to the end of the stage. It's like okay, it's not really a mission. I'm just playing the stage now, but it's a longer stage than regularly.
Rail Canyon is essentially get to the end.
It's literally just get to the end. Like
that's the one I actually ended on because I wasn't able to complete Team Chaotix. But I ended on that one.
I finished when I was on what is it called? Egg Fleet. I got caught
Final
too many
Fortress?
times by the enemy. No, there was the stage before Final Fortress.
Yeah,
so
okay.
You jump on a flower, and I kept getting caught by enemies, so you have to go into the flower when you're already like in your disguise. And I was like, "Fuck this! I know how this ends." So I quit. But yeah, one thing I noticed about the Chaotix missions though is that story-wise and contextually, they make like, what is the point here? Like, the point is that Eggman sets them up to help him, right? Because he is like locked up. But what does having to not be caught by a frog have to do with what's going on? Why do we need to collect 200 rings in the casino? Contextually, to the story, it's not. There's nothing. It just feels kind of like, here's a mission.
Okay. So at the beginning of Team Chaotix, does it supposed to show the cutscene of them being in the house and getting that call and stuff?
Yeah. What do you mean?
Like the beginning, you know how each team has their starting cutscene, right?
Yeah, their opening cutscene, yeah.
I don't know why I didn't get mine for Team Chaotix. Maybe it's just like
they have one, yes.
The disc.
Yeah,
I remember it. I remember it, but it just started off in the first stage. And it was a fresh...
You might have
watched this.
You may have accidentally hit A or something.
Maybe I did at like the perfect frame or something.
This is one of those games where you can press multiple buttons to skip the cutscene. So.
Okay. Maybe I did do that. It was just like muscle memory from skipping through cutscenes from speedrunning. I don't
Probably.
Yeah. But it's weird because you can hit multiple buttons to skip cutscenes, but you can only hit start to unpause.
Yeah, I always found that really annoying.
I realized that when I was playing, I was like, that's like a weird nitpick that I have, but I'm like, I can't hit A. Really? Are you serious?
And that's why pause buffering is not possible in Heroes.
Well, if we're going to go on nitpicks, I was not going to bring this up, but now that we're on nitpicks. So what happened was, it happened twice, and I had to pause the game because somebody was like, needed me, and then I accidentally pushed the stick down and I hit start and it quit, but it doesn't ask, do you want to quit? No, it just it just
Only on
throws you out. I'm
Xbox.
like, God damn.
Only
Thanks.
the Xbox version has a confirmation screen.
Really?
really?
Only the Xbox?
Yep.
Okay, that's interesting. We love those version differences.
Funny thing, people always say the GameCube is the best version. Technically, the base Xbox version is the best version.
That.
Yeah.
Now,
it has higher quality cutscenes. It has better loads. It technically has better all the almost all the actual effects and assets are there. The only thing I have an issue with the Xbox version is that it uses GameCube dead zones of being octagonal, and it feels really wonky.
okay.
But other than that, yeah, the Xbox version is objectively the superior version over GameCube, but not the 360 version. In fact, the 360 version is
I could have just played it on. I could have just played it on Xbox.
I didn't know
instead of GameCube.
I didn't know it was on a 360.
It's not on 360. It's backwards compatible, but it has a lot of those backwards compatibility bugs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does that mean technically you could play it on One X or something?
Nope, it's not possible on the One X. It can only do it on the regular 360.
Okay.
Which is unfortunate. But it has a lot of weird bugs where you could come back from a stage in the stage selection screen, and the background just isn't there.
Oh, naturally.
You're just going through a black screen trying to find a stage that you can't see.
Very
It's
cool.
actually really funny.
We love to see it. All right. Well, I guess now we can start getting into the gameplay because I think we've gone into development enough, and we're already starting to edge into that. So
Yeah.
Okay. So, I played Team Sonic and I played half of Team Chaotix, and I've played the other teams and I played the game multiple times, a couple times before. This game is pretty frustrating to me. But before I talk about why I don't like it, I'm going to get into why, some of the things I do like about it, and maybe some of the things that it was trying to achieve. So I don't think it's a bad idea necessarily to have 3 gameplay styles in one. I like this sort of thing. And this is very off-topic and weird, but I'm going to relate it to Final Fantasy VII Remake. I don't know how many of you guys have played that game.
I have not played the remake. I have played OG, but...
Okay, so in the remake, you can switch back and forth between different gameplay styles as well by using RNL, I believe, and they all have different gameplay styles. So Barrett is a long-range shooter, so you have to switch to him to shoot things from long range. Obviously, I mean I kind of just said that. Tifa's more up close and more combo oriented, and she deals a bunch of damage. And Cloud is a mix of both. And Aerith is a mage, so you depending on who you have in your party and stuff like that, you just switch back and forth between them seamlessly, but you have them all in the stages, and it's really, really fun, and they managed to pull that off really well. Heroes, I find that every time I'm switching back and forth between characters, it doesn't feel fun. It doesn't feel I would rather, I know this is the typical Sonic thing, but I would rather just play Sonic or something like that, or unless they made it a lot more momentum based. I feel when I'm switching to Knuckles or Tails, it's always I have to stop for a second, switch to these characters, and then start moving again. I have to switch to Knuckles while I'm running, and then when I go to punch, I slow down after the first punch to get through these rocks or whatever is in Ocean Palace, and it just slows my speed down too much. I
think the flight and the power characters felt more like a necessity rather than just an actual enjoyable optional characters that you can play as. No, they made them. The fact they forced them for most of the things makes having to play as them a lot less interesting, especially due to the fact that, like you said, their speed are a lot less fast.
Yeah, I just wish that when you switched to them, that it felt good. When I switched to Knuckles to knock down a rock and my speed gets cut in half because of the punch itself, how it actually slows you down and then you have to build up speed again. I'm like, why couldn't they have made it so it reserves your speed, like when you punch once in Sonic Adventure 2, for example, where you still like go through the rock. That way, I'm preserving my momentum going through the level, and it feels good because I knew what I had to do, and because of that, I'm being rewarded for it by preserving my momentum and switching to the right character. Instead, I'm not preserving my momentum. I'm switching to it because there's just this blockade, and now my speed is cut.
Yeah.
That's the thing that irritates me about Sonic Heroes the most.
That sums up my thoughts about the game, the team mechanic, is that it's an interesting idea, but in practice, it feels like you switch to the flight and power characters because you have to, because there's some kind of blockade, because the gap is too large. So you switch to a flight character, you know? And another problem I have with this game is that because they were on a different engine, I presume, the controls of the speed characters is way worse than it was in the previous games, in my opinion. But they also run way faster, I think.
They are very fast. Yeah. They are very fast.
But it's like, so with the speed characters, I feel like I'm too slippery and too fast. But then with flight and power, I feel like I'm slow as ass. You know, and it's like, there's no in between there where I want it to be. And that's always the thing I found frustrating with this game.
I guess in defense of the game's power formation, having the character like punching make you give more speed probably would have had you fall off the stage maybe twice as more, given the fact that's already an issue. Like if they made it even faster, you're just gonna fall off like every like small platform.
But did they have to make it so all of your control is cut out in that moment where you can't like change the analog stick, or could they have made it?
SA2 did still technically do that. The only issue is you were more consistently halted when you get to the edge, rather than just punch, you fall. That's the issue with Knuckles and just all the power formation characters. When you punch, it doesn't like halt you; you just fall off. It doesn't give them that like that stoppingness where it's like, oh, I'm about to fall off. No, you just fall off.
Yeah. Instead, it's like you just after the first punch, your momentum is halted, which is a problem.
And the game does have that mechanic of whether they're about to fall off. It just doesn't activate when they're in the middle of a punch, which is a very frustrating mechanic.
It could have prevented so many deaths, including in my Team Sonic game playthrough that I did today. Even in Final Fortress, where I don't know exactly where it is, but when you there's just like these. It's one of those shield, like that gold shield enemy that and shoots a giant laser or whatever, where you have to get rid of the shield to damage it.
2000 guys,
Yeah, it's like, okay, I am using Sonic so it's caught off guard a little bit, and so that I can even damage it in the first place, unless I stand further back where it doesn't notice me and I throw the characters at it or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that, and then I'm punching, and then for some reason Knuckles goes all the way to the right or all the way to the left, and then I'm just dead, and I'm like, you've got to be fucking with me.
It's probably a bit of a steep to say that I feel like if that single mechanic itself just being fixed would probably give the game a lot better rating, because I know people who have negative opinions on it probably most likely had that happen to them pretty frequently.
Yeah, but there's other parts actually about the team mechanic that seem more subtle, but they actually annoyed the shit out of me when I was playing today. The game kind of this is probably not a wrong way to explain it, but it feels like the game treats the inactive characters, the two others, too much as their own entity, if that makes sense. So, like, for example, I showed that clip on Twitter, Juice, where Bruges was just dead and I couldn't progress unless I supposedly did,
Team Blast
to survive them, revive them. But that also ties into, like, sometimes your teammates fall over and you want to punch, but they are on the ground and they need to recover.
That definitely irritates me a lot.
Can it not just be that if I click on the button, because I'm not in control of the other partners at all,
they like just warp to you, right?
Yeah. Can it not always be the case that when I click on the button, they're always there, and I don't want to wait for these fuckers to stand up or whatever before I can use them? If I want to fly somewhere, why is sometimes the third character missing because they're on the ground or whatever. It's, things like that. They're little, but
I feel
they
like
kinda add
it's
up.
trying to punish you, in my opinion, for getting hit, but at the same time, you're way more likely to die in that moment because you don't have your other characters, and it just feels like not responsive.
Yeah.
Another small thing I always hate is just the fact that when you're not the other two characters and you're like jumping on a platform or something, like going across, you just see them jumping all around having fun. It's like, why can't I do that? They're just all like, if I were to do that right now, I'd be dead.
Yeah, but the game, it never feels like you can use this to your advantage, because on the casino stage, for example, sometimes I accidentally switch to a character that's still on the pinball table, and it's like, oh fuck, I'm back on the pinball table.
Yeah.
But then if you fall into a pit, but the other character is not in the pit, and they're still on the platform, now you're just fucked. Sorry, man. You can't switch to the other character.
I wanted to switch to this character because I have to be in this formation to progress. Oh wait, they're on the bingo table. Now I have to go.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Yeah.
And the AI is like bringing them back to you.
One of the strangest things I always found really interesting and stupid is that if a character's in the slot machine specifically, and like you're somebody else, you can't be that character in the slot machine.
I noticed that today. I was like,
Yeah.
I can't switch to the character in the slot machine. I was like, why? I want to have control over. I mean, even if it's just RNG strictly and not like timed to a button, I still want to be the one to press the button. So like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I actually can't. Okay, that's cool. I noticed that today.
Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts, I guess, on the team shit, is that the idea is cool, but I feel in practice it's usually arbitrary when you need to switch. It's like, oh, you hit a flipper in the air with the flight mechanic, or you punch enemies, or a rock in the way. But it never, or, you fly with those, when you go into the triangle formation with the power character to float up.
Yep.
I guess those things are okay, but there's some frustration that comes with it, and I don't know if it's worth it in the end.
I would have been
At
fine
least in
with
how it's
that.
currently implemented.
If it's like, okay, I have to use the fans or whatever, I switch to the power character progress, because that's like one of the things where it's like, okay, I'm rewarded for knowing what I have to do, and I can preserve my momentum this way. But when
but the game puts monitors everywhere, so it spoils it for you too. What you have to switch to.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like when I play this game, I'm treated like a child, literally.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like that when I'm playing SA1 and SA2. But in this game,
you get orbs on the very last stage.
Yeah, it's like, okay, all this. Finally, I'm on Final Fortress, and I feel like I can do what I want, and I'm like rewarded for that. Or like, and Egg Fleet is actually, I feel like Egg Fleet's like a pretty good stage. I think it's probably my favorite stage. But other than that, it kind of feels like I'm either being babied or it's just like bullshit. I think the team concept is good. In, like I said, in concept, but there's too many drawbacks currently because Sonic Team doesn't like to stick with one thing, because Sega's just like, nah, don't do that. So they'll never get a chance to actually like fix the things that was wrong with it and make it better in a Sonic Heroes 2, even though they have, I'm pretty sure, said that they were interested in maybe making like another game like that, because it's not like it can't work, it's just like it doesn't in its base form.
It just needs a revamp.
Yeah, it needs to not have the very annoying things tied with it, like, and maybe make it more momentum based, like we were saying. Yeah,
well, I guess that segues into the topic of the jank, right? The jank. That's pretty huge on this game.
Anyone who's played this knows exactly what their own experience with the jank is.
The amount of times I died in my own playthrough. I'm not bad at video games. I'm not bad at Sonic games. I swear it. But the amount of times I die in Sonic Heroes is ridiculous. I feel like this game is like on par with jank in Sonic 06. I swear. Like when I die in this game, it's like 1 out of 10 times I feel like it's my fault. I swear to God. It's like, okay.
Go figure that this is one of the few games that if you that has a mode that if you game over and you have to start from the beginning of the game, go figure. This is one of those games with Super Hard Man that does that, where if you game over, you're all the way back at the hill. Doesn't matter what stage you're on. Sorry.
Oh my god. I couldn't imagine being at the end of like Bingo Highway or something like that, and both of your characters die, and you have like very minimal control over whether or not you're gonna fall into the kill
I have
planes.
seen someone die at the end of Final Fortress.
The pinball levels,
my
dude.
goodness.
Oh my god. I don't know how that made it past QA. I don't understand it. Like,
The amount. Okay, so
you
I
can't
know.
be playing that and be like, yeah, this is fine.
I
Like,
know we were talking about it yesterday for a brief moment, but like the fact that that Aaron did maybe have like someone from Q&A like email him and say maybe like unless it breaks the game, don't worry about it, kind of makes me feel like it's not that hard to believe to me after playing even just like Team Sonic and a little bit of Team Chaotix. I'm like, the amount of things that I don't feel like should have gotten past testing that did makes me believe that statement. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm still indifferent with it.
I mean, yeah, there's no way to tell unless, like, you know for sure that they were on Q&A, right? Like, we don't know. We didn't get the email ourselves. But at the same time, I'm like, damn, the amount of, like, weird shittiness and, like, buggy mess that, like, I'm dying. Yeah, I'm dying from almost makes me believe that. You know what I mean? Even without, like, pure confirmation. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, and the thing is, too... Oh, did Lemmers want to say something?
Oh, no.
Oh, the thing too that I find is like Iggy is saying this in chat as well. It's like there are methods to circumvent the jank, and I think that's true in Heroes. But it's the kind of thing where half of the game's challenge is how do I not get screwed over by the bullshit, and it's not a great position to be in. Like today, I never died due to rail switching, but I think subconsciously I remember how to not die to it. And it's because if you lean into switching the rail first and then switch, you don't fall. But if you flick and jump at the same time, then you're pretty much always going to die, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I always lean into it first because I play SA2 a lot, and that's what you have to do in SA2. I didn't know that you just die if you do that. It's what does it do? Like a half rail switch where it doesn't give you enough distance?
No, you should just fly over the other rail. It just doesn't
you're
connect.
Not properly aligned with the collision of the rail, and you just like go above it.
See, Shadow the Hedgehog did rail switching
Shadow
well.
fixed this. Yeah.
Shadow has the best rail switching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, one small thing I have seen people do my entire life that always frustrates me: the B buttons icon on the UI. Where it always says tap, 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 tap.
Yeah.
There is not one mechanic in this game where you actually have to mash it.
Yeah.
It just looks like you have
That's
to.
the special
on the
stage
rails,
issue,
on the
dude.
light dash, on the special stages. There is not one place in this game where you have to tab B. You just press it. But everybody thinks you have to mash B, and they wonder why they're not getting speed.
And that's the special stage issue right there.
Yeah, I feel like they could have just done a very slow, like, that pulsating effect that they do on the B button just once, and then when you actually have the button held that it goes away or something like that.
They really wanted you to get the attention from it, but that completely misinterpreted how people went like see the B button.
Yeah. Also, like,
everyone thinks you need to rent the spam. You don't.
The way that this game tries to tutorialize things, in my opinion, is also pretty, like, rough. Because there'll be, like, sometimes where it just, like, has text at the bottom of the screen where it's not voiced or anything like that, and you barely see it because you're trying to pay attention to what you're doing. And also the fact that they tried to make Team Rose the easy thing. I know they have, like, a tutorial that you can do in the menu or whatever. But I don't think that saves you from, like, half of the stuff you're going to die from in the actual game itself.
It doesn't.
I like the way that it's like, okay, Team Rose is the third team in order to play or whatever, and this is the one that's, like, the easiest and tries to teach you stuff. I feel like
it doesn't label it like that, I think.
It doesn't. It's just
Almost
like...
how it tells you that if you decide to hit Y on them.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah,
but
I don't...
Nobody really thinks to do that anyway, to be honest.
I did it on a couple of things in the main menu, but I mean, I think I did as a kid, but even still, like, now looking back and I'm like, why did they make that like the third one in the menu, like the easy one? It's like, first of all, it's like either lame, like I don't want to play as these characters and do an easy mode now that I've completed like Team Hero, or it's like you're banking on the people who already saw that there's a tutorial option to click Y for Omo Chow on each of these stories to see what it is. I feel like that's putting a little bit too much faith, I guess, in the player, as much as and like they take that faith away in like other sections because they tutorialize like weird things throughout all the stories. So I don't really get it.
There's another thing that I want to mention on the topic of tutorials real quick. For the longest time, I did not know that you can stop the time stop mechanic from Team Blast, from Team Dark. So I would stand in front of closed doors.
Oh yeah.
If you press Z again, it stops. So
Yeah.
I
normally
had
it
no
flashes
idea.
Z, Team Blast, but it doesn't show the Z to stop it.
I didn't know that at
Yeah,
all.
that was honestly completely overlooked. I don't think they realized that they had no way to distinguish. Oh wait, this is a thing we added in. Oh, we forgot to tell people this is a thing we can do.
Yeah.
Never.
So
knew
I
that
didn't.
until
I
just
never
now.
knew that. Yeah, but I discovered that recently. But it's like, oh, okay, that eliminates that complaint, I guess. But I
find
didn't
it
know.
interesting. I find it interesting how there's one glitch in the game where if you do an action, if you team blast the same frame, you do another action or take damage, it acts as if the team blast are already registered. So another character's the gauge will start going down. But Team Dark, it's stuck forever. Unless you die, it's stuck. So if you like needed to use Team Blast for something, you can't. If
Very
you're on
cool.
Robot Storm, you have all
really?
these enemies. Have fun. Use Omega. Up yours.
Have you ever seen? I ran into a glitch with Team Sonic where I used the Team Blast as all of the turtles and golden turtles were spawning.
I'm listening, but I
and-
need to close something.
That's all good. Where all the turtles and golden turtles were spawning in the what's the ghost level?
Mystic Mansion?
The Mystic Mansion enemy rush, and
Oh, yeah, Robot Storm.
yeah, Robot Storm, and then all of a sudden, like, because the enemies were spawning, it didn't kill anything, but then when I went to homing attack, it did like Sonic.
Speed attack.
Yeah, it did the light speed attack as if I was using the Team Blast, but it did it for like the rest of the Robot Storm. Is that normal?
For the rest of Robot Storm.
Like,
that
if
is
I-
not...
Like it happened later too, where I didn't use the Team Blast again, but if I hit the A button, there was a lot of enemies that like went all around and like hit all of them without me doing anything.
Huh. I mean, it does do that as his mechanic with the Team Blast, where when it's still going down, he'll do the light speed attack on enemies. He locks onto them every time. It's
Oh,
very
okay.
jank, but I mean, it is a thing he can do.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know that. Speaking
Yeah,
of
that's
the
just
thing,
Sonic's mechanic.
yeah, speaking of the thing that you posted earlier, Retropolis Zone, I found it really funny how a lot of people were just like, "Yeah, why didn't you just use Team Blast
Yeah.
to like revive
Not a very
Rouge?"
practical solution.
As if the game like tells you to use Team Blast to revive your characters or something like that.
Yeah.
Or even if you didn't have Team Blast, it's like, okay, so I guess I'm just gonna have to build up points by using Rocket Excel over and over and over again.
Yeah, but somebody might not even know that you can build up the gauge by rocket excelling.
Yeah,
so.
people like a lot of people would probably just kill themselves in order to like get
Yeah.
Rouge back or
Yeah.
something like that, and that's bad. That's horrible, I would say.
But I think that we're on the topic. I think one thing that makes the jank worse in this game is that this game has an excessive need to have everything take place above bottomless pits.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is on
The
above
game has a
bottomless
bottom
pit.
pit.
So knockback, if you get hit by an enemy, sends you into pits as if it's an NES game. And like if you're sliding around with the power character, you're inevitably gonna fall into a pit. It's like the entire game is suspended above a pit, and it makes it so easy to die with how janky the game is. I feel like SA1 and 2 are not suspended above bottomless pits this often. They have stages that are, like
Speed
Skyrail.
Highway. Speed Highway had one of like pretty much the whole stage in SA1 too. At least for Act 1.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I feel like in those games you
City
can
Escape
control
is
the
not...
games, like you can control the characters a lot better than in Heroes.
Well, yeah,
so...
but like City Escape is not above a bottomless pit. Pyramid Cave is usually not above a I mean, there are parts where there's a bottomless pit, but there's railings everywhere, so you can't really fall in that easily. And then Crazy Gadget doesn't really have that many pits, only dedicated sections. Final Rush is a big pit, but
yeah, Heroes lacked a lot of like side rails and walls, so you didn't fall everywhere.
And another thing, you know, the level up mechanic, it's cool in concept that if you play well, you can keep your level. But if you die due to some bullshit and you lose all your levels and now the combat's more tedious, it's like, well, great.
Yeah, I was really upset with that because I like that mechanic. It's just going back to the team mechanics in general. It's like if you could preserve your momentum more and if there was less jank, then this would be really cool. But the fact that I'm dying for things that, like, yeah, if you're like an expert at the game, you're going to be able to avoid a lot of these deaths because you know the exact paths of like everything and what the enemies are going to do and whatnot. But like if you're a casual person who's just played the game a couple of times, you're going to die to jank a lot of the time, and it's just like, okay, all of my levels are gone now, and now it's more tedious to take down enemies. It's more tedious to... Well, yeah, that's the main thing, is taking down enemies.
Yeah, I don't think you actually go, like, faster or anything, or get more flight distance, or any of that stuff, right?
That's unfortunate, too. That's a missed opportunity, actually, now that you mention it.
Yeah.
One thing I found interesting was, like, the level up system could have done so much more than just, okay, you attack better, and that's it. Like, I get that's technically what leveling up is, but they could have done more, like a wider range of a tornado. You could have had like locking onto two things at once as level 2 and 3. You technically lock onto multiple things after you defeat the first one, but that's not really doing that. In power characters, they could have had like a more powerful fire dunk rather than just like the fire and lava ball thing. I do like that mechanic a lot, but I feel like it still could have done a lot more with it, and it would have been even more interesting if you can get some kind of upgradable thing in the stages, or getting some kind of threshold requirement that makes you always have those kind of mechanics later on through the story.
Yeah.
They could have done something like that to make it a lot more interesting.
Yeah, and somebody in the chat mentions the PS2 version, and I mean, nowadays it's not really that relevant because nobody plays it, but it is the best-selling version, and back in the day, many people played an even worse version than we have been playing right now.
Yeah, we all played the GameCube version.
It's really interesting, though. I haven't actually said this in stream. I said this yesterday, but I brought up how recently we've been able to get 60 FPS codes on PS2 console heroes, and the game actually has a lot of glitches that were on the PS2 version are not prominent when you have that code on, which is really interesting because things like, let's say, on PS2, there's a few differences. Like, you start later than you should at the beginning of a boss fight. The result screen is longer than it should be. It's twice as long. Things like that. And certain like glitches that we use for speedruns, like a bot boost, isn't as like easily doable on PS2. Everything like that is not like there when you play with the 60 FPS patch, which is really interesting because like a lot of things could have made the PS2 version a lot better if it had the 60 FPS capability. It does lag a good amount when you have that thing on, but like if it had been given at least a little bit more development time, it could have been a really well done version.
It almost feels like because of the fact that it was like that was developed kind of with the GameCube version, like you said, it was like one of the earlier demos.
Yeah.
But it feels like they were developing it with 60 FPS in mind, and then at the last minute they were kind of just like, this doesn't work. We have to lower it to 30 FPS to even make it playable. And because of that, it ended up with all these extra glitches.
Yeah, the issue with PS2 is it's a very tough console to optimize games for.
Yeah.
Like, even Sony, like, even games by Sony themselves, like, they are good, but they still have that, like, that issue with it that you can't really explain it, but you just know things aren't properly polished that they could have been.
Yeah,
I don't
only Naughty Dog
remember.
and Insomniac Games. Pulled
Yeah,
that
I
one
was
off
gonna
on the
say I didn't have
PS2.
too much problems with Ratchet or the Jack series. I actually really enjoyed playing those
I
on
mean,
PS2. But
And
that was
Naughty
it.
Dog are programming gods, so I don't think they're necessarily fair competition. But yeah, that is,
Naughty Dog is just a whole other level, honestly.
yeah.
Yeah.
But now that you mention that, I do feel because it's multi-plat and stuff. I mentioned this yesterday briefly, but in terms, I mean, I actually like the aesthetic in this game. I think the levels look pretty nice. The music's good. There's cool themes. None of it is really like nostalgia based. It does kind of feel like it harkens back to the classics, but not in a way that it's just recycling them.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
But-
mind the shine that characters have. I just wish the textures weren't just flat colors for them.
Yeah.
That was a big issue for me because Sonic's texture is just like an 8x8 blue block, and that's it. Like,
Yeah.
Makes sense.
They
Yeah.
could have at least added some kind of fur. or
Yeah, I
something.
mean, weren't they basically flat shaded in SA2?
Nope. SA2
Really?
actually has some form of shading. In Dreamcast, they were nothing but fur.
Okay.
Like they do have shading at least, but Heroes, they're just completely flat, and they just go off the engine's lighting. They just go off the lighting engine to hope, okay, let's just say that works. It kind of
Yeah,
makes them
and-
look like shiny, like plastic models, like there's some kind of amiibo or something.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
graphically, this game, it does kind of look like Dreamcast to me, and not GameCube. Or
I like to say the
Xbox.
game is part of the Dreamcast era. It was just on the PS2 version for
Yeah.
some reason. Smile.
And I noticed a lot of things. Maybe I'm just looking too hard at that, but I feel like there's a lot of object popping in this game.
There
The
is.
distance is not very far.
In Team Chaotix, when I would go up to a door and it was like the door would be completely open, and then all of a sudden I would go up to it and it would close.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
wait, what the hell? This was just open a second. Oh, I have to go do a switch or something like that. And I was just like, oh, that's really weird. I was right here. I saw this was an open path. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always
it
found
feel-
that really funny with some places. Like you'll enter the battleship, for instance, like an egg fleet. Like you're flying in for the propeller. It just looks like there's nothing there, but the farther you go in, it's like, oh, suddenly there's like a million cannons. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like they could have put a bit more effort into that part. But we've been trashing the game a lot. But is there anything positive that maybe we want to talk about? Because I think the level design,
I was gonna say, I love
minus
the
the
level
stop
design,
and
honestly.
start parts, there are a lot of opportunities to skip parts. There's a lot of shortcuts.
Yeah.
In terms of that, I think the level design is pretty good if you remove the pulling the switches to open doors and stuff. But other than
There's a
that,
lot of sections where the game congratulates you for your exploration, and I really
Yeah.
love when Sonic games do that.
Yeah, there are
Yeah.
times where it gives you absolutely nothing because it's meant for another character, but then there are also times where it actually rewards you.
Yep.
Before I get into this, I wanted to... I don't even remember what I was going to say, so I guess I'll just start getting into this. But yeah, I agree with that. I feel like there are a lot of times in the levels where there have these instances where it feels like I can actually sustain my momentum and I'm rewarded for my exploration, and by using shortcuts and doing something that slightly resembles a spin dash jump with the Rocket Excel jumps and stuff like
Oh,
that, and
yeah.
I'm able to cross gaps that I'm not able to otherwise, that the game doesn't intend for me to do. And I'm like, oh, cool, gaming moments. I feel like I'm playing
Yeah.
Sonic now.
jumping off of rails down to below the level or other parts higher up using the momentum from the rails, that stuff is cool.
Yeah.
I think what is the level called that follows up Frog Forest? I forgot the name.
Lost Jungle.
Lost Jungle. There's a part in the beginning where you're on the rail. You can jump off to one of the sidewalks that you normally have to go around the structure, but you can just jump off the rails and then continue from there. That kind of stuff is really cool.
The game
That's
is
where
really
the level
interesting.
design shines, I think.
The level design is really interesting in the sense that whether it was intentional or not, there's a lot of sections in the game that if you're not meant to be there as a certain character, they still have objects. You could skip past a lot of the goal ranks for Team Rose, but there will still be regular objects, and they're unique from other teams, and then the eventual other goal ring. they didn't plan
yeah.
for Team Rose. Maybe they like had a section. They made the whole section for a stage for Team Rose.
Yeah.
And they thought, okay, where should we put the goal ring? But it's just really nice because for a lot of games, when you bypass parts the character is meant to be in, they just don't have any objects. There's just the geometry. There's nothing to explore. But Heroes is really interesting where every section in the game has its own unique object layout. And I really like how they had things like that. Like if you somehow find your way to get past certain sections, you could still explore. You're not soft locked. You can just keep going.
Yeah, I think normally that falls under the category optimization. I think it was not intended probably, but it is as, you know, as a speedrunner or just glitch hunting, it's pretty cool.
It's like in the SA2 2-piece stages where a lot of the goal rings are still there. I mean, but in that case, a lot of the objects are missing, and you have to kind of cheat to get there. But yeah,
the collision isn't there, but all the object layouts are still there, which I was.
Oh
really
right, yeah, that's right. The collision is
yeah,
there.
I feel like
you can literally get the cosmic wall goal ring as Tails with the red
yeah,
which I always found really funny.
Yeah, but I mean, especially when resources were still fairly limited in terms of processing power back then. Like, typically, I think maybe it just didn't give them any benefit to remove any parts of the stage for Team Rose after, you know, the part that you're supposed to get to. So maybe if they just removed that, it didn't help the game run better at all or whatever. Or load faster or whatever it may be. But
Maybe
typically you
not,
would do
yeah.
that to optimize, yeah. But I guess maybe it wasn't necessary here, but
I just wish that the game allowed me to do the things that you're talking about more than it does already.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it does, like when you speedrun and you're like doing that weird thing with like Big or Vector where you can like jump off of a rail and have skewed gravity or something like that. And
The power in flight.
Yeah, but like other than that, just like from a casual standpoint, like I wish that like the camera is actually pretty janky in this game to me. At least like it screwed me over a few times where I felt like I could jump off of a rail and get somewhere, and then the camera was just like I'm hitting a camera trigger that's like okay, all of a sudden my analog stick movement has to be completely different, and I can't understand it.
I'm glad they acknowledged that when they brought the game to PC because they added the free camera option, which kind of works the way like Chaotix did, where it does have it doesn't have camera triggers. It just stays in a consistent section wherever you want to move it. I'm glad they added that in the PC version because they acknowledged, okay, maybe we should find a way to fix this, but it's it's already released, but let's do it on the version we haven't released yet because people are getting feedback.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I thought the camera. I played SA2 recently as well, and I actually want to say I think the camera in Heroes. I mean, it's kind of subjective camera, right? But I feel like the camera in Heroes was less problematic for me than SA2, but because in SA2,
it gets stuck in walls a lot. That's
it gets stuck in SA2 for my liking too much, which didn't happen here.
SA2 it gets stuck, in Heroes it clips, and also in Heroes you actually have like an option to use the camera triggers without it snapping back to like right, and that helps a lot. But then in the instances where it does have camera triggers, screwed me over when I was trying to like be creative and have shortcuts and stuff like that in more places.
A nice thing the game does that not many people even actually know is that if your camera is stuck in Heroes, if you use the D-pad to like change it to first person, it resets it for you.
The D-pad,
or the C-stick, I guess. The C-stick.
Okay.
I guess if you're playing on GameCube, anything that can move the camera, which is usually the right joystick or the C-stick, if you use it to use in first person and then move, it goes right back behind you. It doesn't matter what happens. It's just a normal camera again, which is a really useful thing. But with things like even SA1, it technically had something like that, but it can still get stuck in the walls. That's the thing. And SA2, you physically can't use the camera and like by moving it around. It's always a locked position.
Yeah, I hate that. And
that's what I've always kind of hated about SA2's camera movement is that you are always restricted.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of off topic, but I think that's part of the reason why some people find the treasure hunting stages harder to navigate when they just start out, because you don't have up and down movement for the camera.
Yeah.
And so you can't really look what's up in the stage. So if you aren't familiar with the level, you're like, I don't know, what's above me? Guess I have to physically actually go up to see how the level looks up, you know?
That's true. I actually didn't even mention that when I did the SA2 podcast.
But I
yeah.
find it disappointing that Heroes doesn't just implement full camera control on the right stick. Because at that point, it was figured out by most games.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even like it's nice that they even have the L and R to be able to move the camera
Yeah,
around more
yeah.
and move like that. I did like that inclusion. I just like I said, I just wish that it wasn't so finicky in areas that I wanted to like be a Sonic player. I wanted to like use my momentum to
Yeah.
skip things, and I have all of this 3D space in front of me, so let me go there.
Yeah, there is a lot of sections in the game where you'll have the camera behind you and you're trying to do a skip, and suddenly, the closer you get to the section that you're skipping to, the camera will be the other direction.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, I'm still holding up, and now I'm just going to make a U-turn and fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's why I think the L and R triggers are slightly limited, because say you're doing an MLG skip in Frog Forest, you jump off of one of the rails, or beans, whatever, beanstalks, whatever they are that
Yeah.
grow out of the and like
Yeah.
the vines, yeah, and then
Beanstalks.
yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm Dutch, so sometimes I'm like, what word am I looking for? And I just throw a word out, and it might not be the correct word, but the vines, you'll be grinding on the vines, and then you jump down to another part of the stage, right? Because you want to skip. L and R, you cannot point the camera down, whereas if you had the analog stick control over it with up and down, you could just be like, let me point that camera down so I can see where I'm going to land. But instead, you kind of have to guess where you're going to land, because you can only use L and R to tilt it this way instead of, up and down.
There have been a lot of dead speedruns because of that issue. I'm not
Yeah,
even
so
kidding.
if you could just pan the camera like up and down with the right stick, I feel issues like that would be easier to resolve in the moment.
Sections with rails would make that a lot easier too, because there's a lot of sections where you're having to fall onto the rail, but you
Yeah.
physically cannot see below you, so you gotta. And the rail is
Yeah.
going horizontally. It's like, all right, let's just hope I get it right. Oh, I failed.
Yeah, and
It's like,
like all
thanks.
three platforms had a right stick. I mean, on Dreamcast, you didn't have a right stick for SA2, so the LNR was the best they could do. I guess you have the
Yeah.
D-pad, but
The D-pad worked, but it also
Yeah.
didn't half the time.
yeah, so I feel like right analog stick camera control would have been really nice in Heroes, but I guess it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, I agree.
But generally, I had less issue with it than in SA2, I think. And SA1 as well, because the camera in SA1 is also pretty rough.
SA2, it like adjusts back for you a lot of the time. And when I tried to mess with the camera in Sonic Heroes, I found that that's when it like clipped the worst, or like it would be in a really weird position for a while until I did reach another camera trigger where it fixed itself. But like Lem said, I guess you can hit the D-pad or the C-stick up or whatever like that, and it does fix it
Yeah.
for you. And I didn't know that because I use LNR for the camera, so how I didn't.
That's a very miscellaneous thing that that almost nobody actually knows. I only learned about that till like a few months ago. I was like, oh, this is actually a consistent thing.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
crazy because Lem is someone who spends a lot of time with the game and actually speedruns it and routed all of tasks for Sonic Heroes.
Yeah,
So,
I've been running this game since 2007, and somehow I only now learned that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like,
So yeah,
But-
I think so far that in terms of positives, definitely level design is a big one, right?
Music.
And I think
what can go
music,
wrong with
aesthetic.
the music? Yeah.
yeah, music.
I've heard people say
aesthetic.
they find the music is too atmospheric, therefore it's not good enough to listen to on its own, and I never really understood that argument at all. I find they're still really great songs by themselves.
I don't even think it's
Obviously, yes,
necessarily
they are
like a
obscure,
good or
but-
bad thing either, because if we're talking about the
Yeah.
music in the game, like that, and it's nice to listen to in the game, then what does it matter whether or not you're listening to
Yeah.
it outside of the game or in it? Like some soundtracks are good for that and some aren't. Like I really love Final Fantasy VII's soundtrack, but I'm not going to listen to like every single song outside of playing the game because it just isn't that kind of music sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like who cares?
I'm kind of like
yeah.
that with like a few Mario games, like Odyssey. Like I love the game soundtrack, but a lot of songs is just like, I'll switch to another song.
Yeah. And like I don't think it's my favorite, but it has some good tunes for sure. Like Ocean Palace is really good, and then Egg Fleet, and I like the casino ones. I
Mystic
don't really
Mansion
care about
is
the
fun.
city ones. The city ones are kind of bland to me, but
I like the bass
Power Plant,
lines in them.
I think Power Plant actually is the smallest song in the game in terms of when it starts to loop.
Oh,
So,
really? Yeah, it's pretty short.
I like Mystic Mansion. That's my favorite, I think.
I love Mystic Mansion in the
Yeah,
in
that
the
one's
game,
good.
in the, like when you're playing the game, because it'll be in like sequences, and it'll stay in that sequence until you get to the next section. I love when games do that.
That's good. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I do like that.
The special stage music, the one for Act 1 special stage is also really good. I like that one.
Special stages. All right, so I guess we'll get into special stages.
That gets it. I set that up as a segue. I set it up as a segue.
Yeah, clearly. So these are like the worst. I don't know what I can say about these that are good. I know they're better on PS2 or PC or whatever. I don't know how they are on Xbox, but GameCube, they are absolutely broken. These things don't work. So maybe like holding B and like trying to like sometimes I'm like slightly moving the analog stick and it's actually working and I'm going in path. And then sometimes I slightly put it into one direction and then all of a sudden I'm like on the ceiling and then I'm falling and then I start to go again and I hit the floor and then all my momentum is halted. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Why is this like this? Why am I... One time I hit it and I like went backwards. Like it literally like launched me backwards. And I was like, I'm trying to get the Chaos Emerald.
I'm biased for liking the special stages, but even I will say it would have been so much better if when you hit a spike ball, it doesn't halt you completely. And even then, when you're trying to like get back your speed, you're still technically slowing down, even when you're boosting.
Yeah.
Not only wasting your boost meter, but you're also just like you're still stuck there.
But
that
like,
was always one of the most annoying things to me.
Even without the spike balls, what about when the ground actually just like stops you? Like, how can we defend that one? I don't think we can, right? Because that's like, I understand if the spike balls slow you down and it takes a while to get your momentum back. I get that one, but like when the level itself is doing that and you're trying to do everything right and just like turn right to follow the path of the whatever the links or whatever they're called, and then it doesn't work. It's like, okay, come on now.
Yeah, and besides collision, I find that sometimes the placement of the bombs is terrible, because sometimes there'll be like you'll go down, but the camera doesn't really show, so you go down a part, and then all of a sudden there's like bombs in your face.
Oh yeah, you can't see some of the turns. You straight up don't know what's coming for a little bit.
They were trying to make it like the Sonic 2 like half pipes, but
the Sonic 2
great. I'm so glad they tried to make it like Sonic 2. Now that they have full 3D space, so you can actually see what's coming in front of you, which is the whole benefit of 3D in the first place. Let's go back to Sonic 2, guys. That's a good idea.
I find it interesting how they felt like leeching off that concept too, because they did it in Sonic 2, they did it in Sonic Heroes, they did it in Sonic Rush, they did it in Sonic 4 Episode 2. It's like, what is with the half pipes, guys? It's not even that great of a mechanic. At least bring back the blue sphere or something.
Yeah, I guess my biggest problem with them is the control itself, where I feel like I want to follow, I want to turn slightly left and follow the path of the links that it's telling me, and then all of a sudden I'm like on the ceiling, and I'm like, there's no way, there's no consistent path of the analog stick to move left to right. So like one time I'm moving slightly to the right, the exact same angle, and I'm moving at this speed. The next time I move in that direction, I'm on the ceiling, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Another small thing that people kind of overlook, we always talk about the special stages, but the bonus stages, the ones in the first act, I feel like I don't enjoy those because of the fact that there's some sections and near the later stages where you are forced to use it's like a pulley thing where you're slowly moving around, rotating around. You only get one shot at that thing. If you don't jump on that thing, you might as well just leave the stage because you are not. You're just gonna time out.
I didn't even get there. I remember
those.
They're very weirdly used. It's like a pulley, but it slowly goes through a section, and you can get orbs by moving around. But if you don't hit that pulley right as you get to it, you're just running through nothingness until your time goes up, pretty much.
Lovely.
They're really stupid and really unnecessarily long.
Yeah, and like besides the special stage itself, I find the key mechanic is ruthlessly punishing. You get hit once and it's gone?
Yeah.
Like, goddamn, like, can it at least not be when I die? You know, it's like,
The Chow key did it
fucking
right. At least you
hell.
keep it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. It's like you get the key, and then it's like you get hit, and then you lose it. I really dislike that because the amount of times that I die from things that aren't my fault, at least make
Yeah.
it so it's like when you die, like you said. Like, come on.
That's why I always recommend people get all the emeralds as Team Rose, because they're the smallest stages
Yeah.
and there's less enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, well, I honestly think dying is a good reason to take the key away, but not in
Dying is
concept.
justified.
In
Taking
concept.
damage isn't.
The fact that you have
But-
to interact with so many enemies, and if you mess up once, then the key is gone. I mean, I
Yes.
know that
Built-in.
like you can have multiple chances to get keys in certain levels when you're looking for them, but like,
Yeah.
not, you know, sometimes
If you get
Mind you,
hit near
every
the end, you
stage-
just fuck.
Every stage, or almost every stage, at least the second acts, which are the ones with the special stages, have some kind of mechanic that makes the last parts really tough. Like Ocean Palace, you have those rocks. Power Plant, you have the lava rising. Mango Highway, you got the red full like pinball section. Bullet
Yeah.
Station,
Yeah.
Lava Jungle, you get an alligator. Like, and then I think Mystic Mansion is one of the worst ones in the sense that you have all these like arenas that you have to go to and just destroy all these enemies and
Oh,
hope you
God.
don't die or take
Yeah.
damage in the process. It's just like you are asking for way too much of a casual player to get those as like Team Sonic or something.
Just to get the last story, like
Yeah, like
once.
in Sonic, the classic games, you never needed the emeralds, except Sonic 3 and Knuckles to get the Doomsday Zone. But
Yeah.
in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, it was set up way more forgiving. You could find rings in the stages, and then you were taken to them. It wasn't like a Sonic 1 or 2 shit where you only have so many chances. No, you can go back in the levels and get the rings, and then you can literally, Sonic Heroes has that too.
Sonic Heroes could have done something like that, where rather than having to beat the stage with the key, they could have had like 1 or 2 keys in the entire stage, and you could enter the special stage from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they could have done something like the way Sonic 2 does with the checkpoint system.
Or
They could have
even
done
like
something that.
how Shadow has those doors that you have to unlock with the keys.
Oh
They
yeah,
could've-
the doors. Yeah.
Yeah, you could have just had it so like you find a key somewhere in the level, and then there's a door somewhere else in the level, and if you enter it, you enter the special stage or something.
Yeah.
This is also assuming that we hope the special stages are better in this like what if scenario, and also
Yeah.
that maybe you don't have to like complete every single story to get the last story. But yeah.
Alternatively, you know how we said earlier, like I wish they could have added some kind of like gradable things for the characters to make them do more. They could have
Yeah.
done that like with the way they did the keys in Shadow, where you find a certain amount of keys in a certain amount of sections. It's like, oh hey, now you have this kind of upgrade. or
Yeah.
something. Like, they could have
Yeah,
done something like
more RPG mechanics that, I mean, the leveling up is I would say it's an RPG mechanic that's in Sonic Heroes, right?
that. Close enough.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So just more stuff like that. I mean, since the original Sonic Adventure, they've tried to implement these little RPG mechanics into the games, so
They
Yeah,
have the right
upgrade
idea,
and
but they're
shit.
just not doing enough.
yeah.
And then, does anybody like the bosses in this game?
These are
Seriously.
the worst
Oh.
bosses I've ever fought in my life in a Sonic game. Okay, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm being dramatic because of like the fact that I just played it today and yesterday.
You didn't
But-
even play the PC version. The
No.
team fights are dreadful because the speed character doesn't get
Yeah, oh
stunned.
my god.
The speed character doesn't get what?
They don't get stunned. Like, you know how when you're fighting like the
Oh.
teams, they fall down and wait?
Yeah.
With the speed characters, they take damage, they just hop off and just start running around. Just like.
Wait, so
and
how do you
and
beat
they still
them?
have the iframes.
How do you beat
You just get
them?
lucky. You just get lucky.
Do you
I'm
have
not
to
even
like
kidding.
cheese it like
No.
what you do with like the belly flop characters where like you do them and then you restart or whatever and then hopefully they just
You can do that, but it still doesn't work.
Oh great.
It's just that bad. They are actually
Dude.
the biggest headache.
Dude.
They're also the biggest run killers in PC runs. I'm not even kidding.
Well,
Unless
even
sometimes they're consistent, but they're not.
This is
Even
another.
on GameCube, I found them they're just incoherent messes.
They're annoying and like. Okay, so apparently you have to use certain characters to counter other like formations,
Yeah.
and I didn't know that. Does the game tell you that anywhere?
They tell you that once, and you have to break a crate in the second fight later in the game, near the end of the game, and hope you can get that orb. That's like the only way you can do it.
That's where
And
the
even
game
then,
tells you
you're not
that you can
listening
do
to the
that.
characters doing it because you're too busy trying to not die.
So wait, so in the second fight, like later in the game, if you break
After
a crate,
the frog, yes.
then the game tells you this formation beats this formation.
There's an orb in the crate, I believe. I know there's. I don't know if it was the orb or if that's on the ground somewhere, but yeah, there's an orb that you hit in the stage that'll tell you that that is a thing, and it only tells you which one of the certain character who's explaining it. So like, let me take the lead when they're in X formation. But like,
That's
okay, cool.
very
What about the
convoluted
others?
and stupid. I didn't know this at all until yesterday when Craftus told me, "Oh yeah, you have to use like like a tornado to beat the flying formation a little bit and to like knock them down." I was like, "How the fuck am I supposed to know that?"
Well,
Where
there's another problem with these stages where visually it's hard to process what's going on. I find
you can't see them half the time.
oftentimes I can't see my opponents. They're so small. There's a
Yeah,
lot
the
of
camera
shit
doesn't
going
lock onto
on.
them. It just locks onto you. So
Yeah, but I find my opponents are just way too small or something. I oftentimes can hardly see where they are.
sometimes they're just spinning around in a circle doing nothing anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
Yeah,
you
and
can get
sometimes you shoot and they fall into the pit, and sometimes they lie on the ground and you can't get them off of the goddamn stage. I don't know what it is, but
sometimes they can just straight up stun lock you.
yeah,
That happened to me a couple of times. On even the first
you
one
know-
against Amy when I was Team Sonic, and I was just like, "Come
Like
on,
everybody
man."
knows the notorious "it's no use" silver glitch in 06.
That's how I felt. That's how I felt, dude. I literally died because I couldn't do anything. Once they hit me once, I was dead.
Because here's the thing with heroes, like when you're in the team fights and they hit you, if you have a ring, like you just lose the rings and it's whatever. But when you take damage without ring, you go flying. But you can get stun locked in this game where they can just keep jumping on you and you're just falling in place and you just keep getting the ring and you can just get stuck, and it is
Oh
the most
my
frustrating
God.
thing ever.
Yay.
they're the worst like rival matches.
Why are
I
they
don't
in the
like
game?
tag team fights, at
Like,
least, but,
I mean, the ones in SA1 are like nothing. They just happen. Like they're literally nothing. The ones in SA2 are still shit, but
Yeah.
like
They're
the
the
ones-
Except for the
ones,
last
though.
one.
The
Except for the
ones-
last one. Sonic
yeah,
versus
the last
you know,
one, yeah.
Yeah,
But
that
the
actually
other
feels
ones
like
are
it
shit.
tests you.
But then the ones in Heroes are just somehow way more shit. When the others were already not good in the first place, it's like, wow.
It's like in
God
Sonic
damn.
Adventure, it's like these are nothing, but like you don't even have to try to beat them. In Sonic Heroes, it's
Yeah.
like you're trying to beat them and you don't know how, and it's just like it almost
Yeah.
feels like RNG.
SA1,
Yeah.
it kind of just feels like you're interacting with a cutscene. SA2, it's just like they actually just kind of feel like they're general fights. Heroes, I don't think they knew what they were doing with the AI.
I don't
Yeah.
know why they're in the game, honestly.
Yeah, story-wise, they don't
Chatting.
even do anything. It's like, oh, Amy wants to marry Sonic and Sonic doesn't want it. Let's fucking kill each other. It's like, what the fuck?
Marriage? No way.
Yeah, like, and then Rouge is like, oh, I don't trust these guys. Let's kill them. Then you kill them. No, you don't kill
Who
them.
is
you
this
defeat them, and then-
broad?
And then after the fact, Rouge is like, yeah, they were definitely up to something. It's like, yeah, fuck off. It's like, fuck.
At least, like,
And
the
then-
Chaotix and Team Rose one almost made sense because they were getting
Yeah.
challenged.
That's
Yeah.
the one that makes sense. But also in the Team Rose, like they think that Sonic takes it because Metal Sonic makes this picture where like he transforms into Sonic and then takes Chocola or Chocolate.
Yeah, like, weren't you all just in SA2? Like, whatever happened to just sit down and ask questions? Not, hey, I'm gonna beat your ass and make you fall off a building.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
and then wasn't SBO after the fight like, this is all a huge.
no,
even,
in the fight
even before
when it
the fight,
starts.
like,
Yeah.
this
When
is a
it starts.
huge misunderstanding, but let's beat each other up anyway. Let's go,
yeah.
baby.
Yeah, it's at the
Like-
start of the fight with Team Dark. It's like I think this is a misunderstanding.
I guess that happens when you're talking to a 12-year-old girl, a 6-year-old girl,
Yeah.
and
Oh my
a cat who
God.
can barely even like figure out what left and right is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they feel contextually they feel completely arbitrary, and the battles themselves are
I don't
terrible.
mind him being self-aware though. It's like, but what was the point of that?
Yeah.
Even they're just like, okay, that was stupid.
Well, it would be forgiven if they weren't so fucking shit.
In a perfect world, you would have it so the story made sense of it, and also the fights themselves were like good. Because as it is right now, they were like, it's like the developers were forced to make these to like almost like pad out the games because of the expectation to make it a longer game, and then it's like, okay, and then the story. And then the story, yeah, exactly. It's either an enemy rush, the rivals, or an actual boss. And then the actual like story writer, who's the same person who made SA2, is just like, okay, how the fuck do I make this so it makes sense at all? Okay, let's just make fun of it.
Something I found funny is Cream's perspective on the Japanese version. She just does not like how Amy is just like trying to constantly get with Sonic, and like after the fight with her with Team Rose and Team Sonic, she's just like, wow, Sonic must really not like you. And she's like, what was that? I was like, nothing.
I thought that's in the English version too, is it not?
It's in it, but it's very vague about it. But in Japanese version, she should have just like, wow, Sonic really.
She's just like, I don't think Sonic likes you or something. I forget what she says in English.
She just says he must be really, really what? Oh, nothing.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But the Japanese version, she's a lot more like blunt about it. It's like, wow, Sonic really just isn't into this.
Yeah.
But like the team battles are the worst ones of the bosses. But then you get the enemy gauntlets. I think those are, I mean, they're not terrible, but
those are actually
so padding. It feels so padded.
It feels padded, and at the same time, I feel like it's like the best ones. As much as weird as that sounds, like I feel like
I guess.
Egg Albatross is just Egg Hawk 2 Electric Boogaloo, so
yeah, it's that one, but you have to take out the outer shell first or whatever.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
I mean,
I'm just spamming homing attack the whole time. I don't know if there's is that legitimately the strat before it lands?
That's what I do. Yeah,
because that's what I did as a kid. I just tried to
like. The Eggman bosses in this game, I can't pinpoint them. They're just so poorly designed. It doesn't feel like they have a strategy or a point, or I just don't know what they want to do with them.
Wait, what did you realize?
In Egg Hawk, you're always spamming with Sonic. In Egg Albatross, you're always spamming with Knuckles. In Egg Emperor, you're always spamming with Tails.
With Tails, yeah. Because
they all have their own different versions, but they're all just spamming as one character.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know what the point. Like, these bosses are so weird that I can't even like pinpoint. But they're just shit.
The only one that like tests you, right, is the last one before Metal Madness, right? It's like
wait, do you mean the one with Eggman or the one in Metal Sonic?
No, the one with Metal Sonic specifically before your Super Sonic.
Oh yeah, Metal Madness.
Yeah, okay, so that's the only one that really tests you for your game mechanics, right? Because the Egg Emperor kind of feels like absolute nonsense. I mean, maybe it's just because, like, I cheesed it, right? Because, like, I know that I can just fly above it with Tails and kill it. But, but like, other than that, it just it knocks you in the middle of, like, you using the boost pads and stuff. Like, or, like, I almost died. And then one time I was, like, in the arena.
Enough, like, length until because there's a point where he'll either just, like, he'll shoot rockets or he'll charge you. The where he charges, they did not give nearly enough leeway to where you can actually progress through with the boost pads.
Why isn't there an if statement? If on a boost pad or if player control is taken away from characters or something like that, don't charge at the enemy and kill him when he's in the middle of trying to progress the boss fight.
Even if he doesn't charge, if you go on the ramp sometimes and he's too close, you can ram into him and just die.
Kind of like how the alternative sections after the big arena, there's also you could use the pole with the tornado. It's like this is cool, but you're spending way too long going up it. That 8 out of 10 times he's just gonna charge you anyway, and you're gonna take damage.
That's what I mean. Like if player control is taken away from the player, do not charge. Like just keep moving or like stay still or something, and have it so as you're moving towards it, it moves backwards or something. I don't know.
It could have very easily like implemented that. It just didn't think to do it for some reason.
It also
Yeah.
charged me from all the way like on the path into the arena. I don't know if that's normal or not.
That can happen sometimes.
That
I've
happened
seen
to
that
me
before.
when I was
It's
playing
weird.
Team Sonic. It was just like, okay, I thought it was going to go to the middle, and I was like getting ready for that. It's just like, it was like all the way back there. It's like, charge! And I was like, okay, where the hell are you? And it just, I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that's cool. Whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree where I kind of feel like I don't know how they're supposed to test what you've learned so far in the stages
Yeah.
themselves or with the team mechanic or anything. You're not really forced to switch back and forth between any of them. It's always just like spam a button.
Yeah. And
Robot Storm and Robot Carnival are the closest ones in the sense that you're just fighting enemies you've been fighting the whole time. Like,
but then the
I mean,
robot storms, like the ones in the second one, I was watching. I never died to it, thankfully, but I was watching. I don't know if you know him, the Gaming Brit.
I've
He's
heard
been
of him, I think.
he's been streaming all the Sonic games. He's never played Sonic games before, and he's been streaming from like Sonic 1 all the way. He's at Mania now, and in Heroes, it was so funny to me that he kept dying on the boss rush with Team Dark. Not the boss rush, the robot storm on the Zone 6.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking 6 minutes in and he dies. It's so painful.
I died to something.
There's no checkpoints. There's no checkpoints in these things.
yeah.
I died
And
as
the
well.
last section is incredibly brutal because you're having to fight two of the helmeted hammer robots, and those are just hell. And the tiny arena is just like,
It's easy
how
to
did I
slip
do
off.
this when I was not a speedrunner? This is just bad.
Yeah, you can slip off so easily, and then it's 6 or 7 minutes of redoing that enemy rush again.
And that's kind of like how I feel about Final Fortress, kind of with like Team Sonic and Team Dark too. Is I feel like they put these super hard enemies in a lot of small sections where you're so likely to fall off and die.
Almost every E2000, the big robots do with the lasers, are almost always in the very small rooms, hallways that are usually above bottomless pits. And it's just like, why would you consciously put them in these parts of the levels?
There's also a place where it's like nearing the end. Also, there's not enough checkpoints in Final Fortress, in my opinion, for the amount of times you die. But
I think there's 3, and yeah, that is not nearly enough.
Yeah. So I was like using the power formation, and I took down an E2000 or whatever, and then you have to go higher on the fans, and then you have to fight a helmeted guy. And, and then you have to fight another 2, and then the third time it's like you have to fight like a helmeted guy and 2 normal guys on this tiny ass platform, and it's like if you used your team blast before, it's like, okay, I'm just gonna die, I guess. It's like so hard not to slip off or get hit because you have no room to dodge or like you might have 2 of them going like this and one of them like, throwing the hammer down. Sorry, you guys probably can't see me like using my arm to like throw a hammer down. I'm like, why don't they know what I'm talking about?
Now that you mention a team blast, I always use that as safety, but I'm trying to remember. I feel like it's possible that I remember it happening if you use the team blast as Team Sonic, that because Sonic sometimes flies off and you can get hit after it or something, or die if you do the team blast as Team Sonic.
Yeah, he'll do that sometimes.
Wait,
he doesn't.
what?
He's meant to, because you know how you mentioned earlier how like Sonic would like keep doing like the team blast mechanic thing, light speed attack on enemies.
Yeah.
There are some times where he is, because he's meant to program to always land on a collision floor whenever he does that attack, or sometimes land back to where he was.
Yep.
Sometimes he just does not land back on the floor, and you just fall off, especially in the boss rush.
We love to see it.
Yeah, I don't know why that's even a gameplay state. I don't know why isn't just a cutscene.
Yeah. I guess
Why-
because the robot
why-
RNG doesn't really make it easy to do. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I never found it very interesting or fun. That's why I almost never used it. Honestly, whenever I want to do something like that, I just do it in flight mode because he does the same thing, but your tail, so you're not actually the one doing all the damage.
I actually don't like Team Blast as a mechanic all that much.
It's a neat concept, but it's not that great in execution.
I mean, it's okay. It's not like bad, but I think over time having to watch those gets really repetitive. especially in the in the enemy rushes, where
Have
it's
you
just
seen
like,
Chaotix's Robot
yeah.
Storm? It's nothing but a concert.
Yeah, it's just that over and over. I kind of wish you could skip them. So it's just like, let's get it. Because, I mean, when you see them once, it's like, okay, that's cool. But when you see them 5 times in the same, like, enemy rush, it's like, god damn.
Or just have more depth in the combat itself to the point where you don't really need to use them. Because the only time I'm ever using them is just because, like,
I can't be fucked.
Yeah,
if they changed over
wanna...
the course of the game, that would have been actually interesting.
It's just like, okay, I don't want to deal with this. I'm gonna hit the Z button now. It doesn't feel like it's like more rewarding.
It feels like I'm doing a baton pass to Persona, but like all the time.
Yeah, it just feels like you're doing it because you can't be fucked to fight them normally. So it's like, okay, let's team last, get it over with. And now that you mentioned Final Fortress, there was, maybe Lemris can explain this to me. There's like a part with Team Dark where there's 3 switches to activate a fan.
God.
For some reason, the second person would always jump back to me, and I couldn't activate all the switches.
Yeah, that's the cannon's fault. They can attack the characters that are just standing there, and when they get damaged, they just come back to you. Because
that's in Team Sonic too, right?
Oh god.
Yeah, that can happen.
Yeah, that happened to me, and then I took down all the cannons because I realized, I was like, okay, hopefully it's not gonna like knock them out of the switch state and then have them come back to me. But then when I realized it did, I was like, okay, I know what's going on, and I'm just going to take down all the
I don't
cannons.
like fighting stuff when I don't have to because I'm afraid I'm gonna fall off and die.
Yeah, that's the thing. The
Like,
cannons are kind of
cannons...
over a pit
like
if you go a little bit too
anything
far.
close to a ledge, I'm like, I don't want to fight this because it's like I can die.
Mystic Mansion takes advantage of that too, because the section before the 3 rooms, you're in that little section with the light dash. Like they have the ghosts going around, and they intentionally make them take damage to get them fall off, so they'll come back to you. It's like they knew that was a mechanic, but they took advantage of it and made it as an actual concept. And I don't know how I feel about that.
How can we?
Yeah, now that you mentioned the light dash, how come that sometimes the light dash just doesn't work and you die? Lemris.
It really wants you to be in the center of where the rings like path is.
It's just like
it does kind of do that. Yeah, it's pretty much like Adventure 2, and sometimes you also have to mash the B button rather than just like hitting it.
That's what I do.
Really stupid. Yep.
I do it out of safety. I'm like, as soon as I get to the.
Like, I know I said earlier, there's never a section where you have to mash the B button, but for that one, I would say it can be justified because sometimes it just does not work. In fact, there is one section in Casino Park for Team Dark where you're supposed to light dash into the next section, but there's like 2 sets of the rings that are by their own object entities, and if you like do the light dash when you're standing on little dice under it and you hit B, he doesn't light dash, he just goes like 30 feet in the air.
Very cool.
It's one of the funniest like things I found it as a kid, and it's still really funny to me. It's like, okay, I guess I won't light dash. I guess I'll just go to space, whatever.
Yeah, it happened to me today with Team Dark. There's like a light dash in what is the second stage called of the canyon, the
Bullet Station.
Bullet Station. I keep forgetting these fucking names. Bullet Station. There's like a light dash over a pit to the next section. I tapped it. I just fell into the pit.
Oh,
like,
you
nice.
mean right before that train section, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where that will happen because the light dash is really stupid in this game, because you know how in SE2 you can do the light dash whether or not if you're in the ball form or if you're just like falling.
Mm-hmm.
In Heroes, if you are just in ball form and you like hit a spring or something and you go to a light dash, it doesn't let you light dash. You have to actually be in jump form or falling out of it. Meaning there are sections that you won't, like in super hard mode, this is a very, very common thing, because there will be times where you hit a spring and then there's rings above. You can't just run into the spring and light dash. You have to jump on the spring and light dash. Because if you don't know that, you're just going to fall off into a pit. There's a lot of times where speedruns have died because of that, because you don't realize, oh, I wasn't actually jumping.
Yeah. That's interesting, yeah.
I've also noticed there are certain things, like when you hit a spring, that you can and can't do. Like I don't know if it was Frog Forest or the stage after, but I was having trouble
The
Like-
vines in Frog Forest. Now I'm getting flashback to the vines. sending
Oh,
you
in
into a
in
pit.
Frog Forest or in the one that's
Or
Or
after.
the one that follows up. Yeah, Lost.
Yeah.
The one that
Jungle.
follows up, I was like mashing B so I could go faster or whatever, and I like outran the vine, which I didn't know was possible, and I died. I didn't.
Yeah.
The
I
game
don't-
can lag me sometimes too.
I
Fun.
I didn't know that. Like it was at the end, like right before the game like switches the camera, and I was just like, oh, I didn't know that I could even do that.
Yeah.
Also, one thing.
And those swing things where you swing on them, I hate those.
I didn't have a problem with
Sometimes
it
they
this
fucking
time,
throw you
but
into a pit.
yeah, as a kid, I didn't. I could not do that alligator section for a really long time. But
You know what's
No, there's
funny about
oh,
that
go ahead.
section
Go
too?
ahead.
So, yeah, I've been running this game for 14 years, but I'm not gonna say that I can consistently get that one-up that's in the alligator section. I have yet to get that once in my life. That is the stupidest one-up I have ever seen in this game.
I don't know if I've
Like-
even seen it. Have I seen
Like,
it? Is
when
it
you're
Team
going
Sonic?
through it, you can kind of see it. You see it when you pass, but, like, you're supposed to, like, when you're swinging, you're supposed to just stop at the halfway point and fall onto it. You never fall onto it. You don't land right on it. It is
Very
the
cool.
dumbest one up in the game, and I hate it so much because no one thinks to go for it because they know they're just gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what I specifically remember in that stage, it's like you take like a flower that takes you through like a tunnel thing, and then
Oh,
there's
yeah, yeah,
also a swingy thingy. I don't know what to call it. The swing thing,
They're just vines.
the vines too. Yeah, and then, but the
The
flower
beans
got
sucks.
stuck.
They're ivies. They're ivies. They're ivies.
They're beanstalks.
The flower got stuck, and it pushed me, and like I went back with the flower, so I jumped off, and I jumped onto the swingy thing.
Oh yeah, that
And then-
happens. Yeah.
And then I pressed the swingy thing, but I was holding the analog stick, I guess, and it was like, oh, but you're not supposed to do that, so I'm gonna send you into a pit. I'm like, okay,
There's one-
thanks.
There's one IV in that section for Team Dark that was not programmed with the right speed value. So when you go off of it, you just fling away. Like
Yeah.
you do not go on to the next Ivy. You're just like suddenly you're outside of the cave and you don't know where you are, and the camera's in a weird place and you fall. It's like you can technically
Seems
land onto the
legit.
other Ivy if you're in flight formation. But
Yeah,
if you're
that-
in any other formation, bye.
I think that's how you can sum up Sonic Heroes for me. It's like there's a lot of good level design, but like there's just so many things that are not done well in terms of how it's programmed and designed, and like even little things like you need to trigger the frog so that the vine grows for you to grind rail on, but like it doesn't grow until you step on it, so you don't know if you're gonna die or not if you step on it or not. You don't know that it's gonna grow as you grind on it. It's like weird things like that. It's just, yeah.
So I think finishing up like the gameplay section, I would say
Yeah.
that like with this game, I would find it to be very cool if a lot of those jank sections would be programmed better, if you could reserve momentum better by switching between the characters in a way where it felt more natural. That would make me want to play those levels again. And instead of
Yeah.
making me want to play those levels again, it forces me to by playing the other gameplay section, like the other stories.
Yeah.
And that's why I've never been able to take this game to the next step, like you have, Lem, where you're a speedrunner of this game. Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Adventure make me want to get better at the game. Sonic Heroes makes me want to put down the game, and I think it's just because of those like that jank factor that we've been talking about. Like I wish that maybe I can get past that and like really enjoy the game for something else, but really I just wish it was better for everyone instead of just those who know how to avoid every single like little thing the game throws
Yeah,
at you
Yeah,
to
this
kill
is
you.
definitely one of those games that, like, it's hell. It is absolute hell for a first timer going into it. But when you have a lot of experience into the game, it is incredibly satisfying to just rush through everything. I think
Yeah.
it's because you know how those sections could be extremely tough for others, but
Yeah.
like the act of just going through them flawlessly is just really a satisfying feeling. It's one of
Yeah.
those games that like you can just like I just love the feeling of just like the fluent the what's the word I'm looking for? It's like it's how fluent it is to just like beam through things that people you would hear like you'd hear tales of how frustrating they can be, but you it's just like whoosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just wish there was a little bit more of a balance there, like there is in some
Yeah.
other Sonic games, where it's like,
Yeah.
sure, like I can get good at this, that other people are struggling with it, but I don't want it to feel like it's like not my fault. That
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I mean,
Yeah.
even I still get I still get very often that was totally not my fault. That was the game thing. Especially, it doesn't help the fact that this game does have input drops. So
Yeah, and Blue Blur PL says a scripting jank. Like, the Ocean Palace rock that chases you, sometimes if you go on the ramp and it hits you in midair and you die.
oh yeah, the rubber banding on that thing is extremely broken. Like, at least with the boulder in the truck and SA2, they could hurt you, but I can at least give the rocks in Ocean Palace some kind of no. What is it? Yeah. Like the boulders do at least stop a bit before they start hitting you, but they could still hit you sometimes anyway. And depending on where you get hit, you can actually clip through the floor if you're on the ramp, and you just fall through the floor and die.
Oh, I clipped through something as Tails in Final Fortress 2, which was really fun.
Yeah, I've straight up clipped through the floor in this game multiple times in the past.
Yeah, I clipped through the floor in between a wall, where I was like, I hit the wall and then I went down to land on the floor under it, and I just went in between and died when there was.
See, like SA1, their walls don't exist. In SA2, ceilings don't exist. In Heroes, floors don't exist.
Lovely.
Everything's got its own little thing going on.
Yeah, and like where I find during just casual, I don't mind it terribly much, these things. It does take away a lot from my enjoyment to some extent, but like I always have enough lives and the checkpoints are close enough. But where I remember this jank factor being totally game ruining, I would say, just ruined, was getting all the A ranks. It was horrible. If you're not
even for me on my first playthrough.
like, if you die, your A rank is gone, and you are gonna die due to some bullshit. And like, I also think the A ranks in this game are really repetitive. Like, chances are I already, like, okay, you can do it. Oh, I mean, the extra missions in this game feel pretty meh to me.
Team Sonic's extras is just doing the game again.
Yes, and then Team Chaotix is like, let's find more of the things, which I guess is. But then Team Dark is like, fight all these enemies. It's like, oh my god, no.
Some of the stages for Team Dark are just absolutely debilitating because, like, Lost Jungle has like 40 enemies, maybe less than that, and you have to go through the stage twice, sometimes 3 times. It's just like, why? Why couldn't it be like destroy all the enemies in the stage or something? Because at least
you have to
some
loop
stages
around.
they could have done something like that.
Oh my god, yeah, that's a thing too. Yeah, 100% think this game was awful when I did it many years back.
I don't think the game rewards you enough for you going through the effort of 100%
That's
of the
why.
game.
That's why when I was a kid, I thought you'd get those metal characters, and then you find out not only do you not get that, you get nothing.
Woohoo!
I don't think SA1. I don't think SA1 and 2 rewarded you for all the emblems very well either.
No, I mean,
anything here, SA2 gave you Green Hill, okay, and then Heroes just pulled a Mario Sunshine, you get a JPEG.
Yeah. Yeah, Sonic Heroes, you get a JPEG. At least in Sonic Adventure 2, they had stuff planned. I don't know what they had for Sonic Heroes, but Sonic Adventure 2, it's like, okay, cool, you get Green Hill, and maybe these Super Sonic and Super Shadow forms that they wanted to give you. And you get, like, rewarded slightly in the 2P mode by having these extra outfits, but that's it.
Yeah.
Like, but Sonic Adventure 2 made me want to... It made me want to go the extra mile to, like, get A ranks. Sonic Heroes doesn't. So...
Yeah. And I guess we never talked about the final. I guess we could transition into the story talk if you guys want to get into that a bit.
Yeah,
but,
we're gonna get
like-
into it. We'll get into the story and the dialogue real quick, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah,
But first,
I was gonna say maybe like talk about the final boss before you go into the story, because I want to say that the final boss is like
it's just Team Blast.
really lame. It's just Rocket Excel until you get Team Blast.
I always found it really dumb because, well, for one, you're never going to use the speed character on the first phase. Nobody uses the speed character. You can just switch between flight and power, but if you switch to speed, chances are you're probably going to die because A, when you homing attack onto it, you repel back and you just fling somewhere. And if you don't fling somewhere onto the floor and die, then chances are you'll probably die because the like spikes he's shooting at you will hit you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, why even make it like that? Like, I get what they were trying to do to make it so you can actually land back on the arena. It was not polished enough.
Yeah, and then the second phase is just Rocket Excel into your Team Blast, basically.
The second phase frustrates me still to this day that it was just supersonic, but Tails and Knuckles just got.
Oh yeah, that sucks,
Yeah.
right? It's like, come on, they have better forms than this, or like give him something. I also hate how like I'm a Shadow fanboy, so I hate how he was kind of like shafted in this game completely. But yeah, let me. We're gonna talk about story and some dialogue and stuff before we wrap up with final thoughts. I'm gonna cut the break real quick. I'm gonna grab a water, go to the bathroom. You guys can do the same.
Okay.
If that's cool with you guys. All right. Cool. So we will be right back talking about the finishing up with the story, some of the dialogue, and then giving our final thoughts. Don't go anywhere. See you soon. Let's get back to it then.
What's up?
How we doing?
What's up, chat?
Yes.
You still here?
They are.
Good.
Sweet. So I guess, yeah. So now that we've wrapped up on gameplay, I just wanted to mention real quick something that kind of messed me up in Final Fortress as well. This was just on my mind. There's a section in there where you have to go on rails with Sonic, and like you have to use the tornado. And then it's scripted to automatically put you on the rail, like you have no player control in those sections.
Yeah.
And then the fourth one, it gives you it, and you I guess you're just supposed to know that. Like I was like, okay, and then like I made sure that it didn't put you on the rail, even though it's scripted. And yeah, it just kills you if you don't like hold towards the rail, even though the other 3 times right before then you don't have to do anything. Yeah, I found that pretty cool little game design moments.
Everyone's favorite.
Well, Blue Blur is saying it's not even talking about design faults, just technical shortcomings. But I feel like we've also had some design issues just in general.
You're talking about the team mechanics in general. I feel like is the big thing.
Yeah, it's the team mechanic doesn't really feel like it. It does. For me, it doesn't really hamper the game that much, but it also doesn't add anything. I feel like in the end of it.
Yeah.
They wanted to try something new with it, but they like we keep saying they could have done a lot more with it.
It just wasn't polished enough. It wasn't a second title. It wasn't it didn't bake for long enough in the oven. We'll say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they could have done it so it felt more Sonic with you actually keeping your momentum using the team mechanics, but instead it just feels like either it A, tutorializes it throughout the entire adventure, or B, at worst, just halts your momentum and feels like more of a requirement and setback for you to progress more than it feels like you're rewarded for actually knowing what you have to do.
Pace, because the characters are gone and you can't get them back for some reason.
Yeah, let me pull this lever to open a slow door, to hit a switch, to kill an enemy to progress now. That's what reminds me of Sonic.
Yeah, the context sensitive actions are finicky in this game.
They are a little finicky, yeah. I just hate how like you have to do like 3 steps to progress in a lot of areas. It's like, okay, I'm pulling this lever to open this door to kill this enemy for this bridge to like fall open for me to
Yeah.
progress.
Yeah,
It
like
doesn't
Switch
feel like it
puzzles-
rewards anything. It's just stupid.
It's like, do you remember the part in Pyramid Cave where you have to bring a key?
oh, that's my favorite part of
That's
Pyramid
my
Cave.
favorite part of Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah.
Let's have more of that in Heroes.
Thank God I can.
Well, I guess
at
it
least in
doesn't
Sonic
limit your
Adventure 2, I can
movement.
just like. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
designed for me to
It
do
limits
this, but
your
I'll just clip through the
movement.
door.
In SA2. Yeah, in SA2 it limits your movement, which is shit. I guess Heroes doesn't do that, but it's like, oh, people really enjoy putting keys into holes and hitting switches to open doors. Let's have more of it in Heroes, you
Think
know?
of the entire game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really don't like that. How it just like it's like the stop and go nature of Sonic Heroes. It's always
Yeah,
been my
just-
problem since the last time I played it
Yeah.
that I keep bringing up to people, and they're just like,
And
"Nah, I
Switch
didn't feel like that."
puzzles- Switch puzzles genuinely don't add anything to me. What do they add? Looking for them, I guess, but you know where they are. So it's
Yeah.
like I don't
Reminds
know
me
what
of
they
the
add.
one of the keys in Chaotix's Final Fortress. You almost never get this for the regular mission, but the extra mission is hell because you have to destroy 4 different waves of enemies in 4 different sections, and then
really?
you have to hit the switch so you can get the key. It's like there's so much you're doing for one key.
Yeah.
You don't need to have this much padding for the key, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
how
wonder
feel
if the
about it.
switches were meant to be padding. Just stretch out the game just that little bit more, or did they genuinely think, yes, this is added gameplay depth?
Yeah, that's the thing that gets me. It's actually a fair question, like, at this point, right? It's like, who knows?
I wonder if they genuinely thought it was good, or if it was just put in to stretch game time a bit more.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I hope it's not to stretch
They
gameplay
did
a
not
bit
need
more.
to stretch it
Yeah,
anymore.
like they already did that enough to themselves due to the pressure of like wanting the game to be so long due to the adventure titles and whatnot. Like just no focus on the core gameplay. But anyway, yeah, let's get past that and move
Yeah.
on to like the
The
a
story
little bit
shit,
of
yeah.
the story that this game has and what choices they made with the dialogue. Now, I am not Japanese, so I don't know the direct script. According to
Me
you,
neither.
Lem, there are not many differences in the script at all that matter. Or
There's actually a decent amount, not to the core story, but to, like side things mostly.
okay,
Like the core story itself is still the same, but there's a lot of things that leave you wondering in English, or things just straight up don't make sense. Then the Japanese version are different. The easiest
Yeah.
example being that for the ending of Team Dark, when Rouge sees all the capsules of Shadow, she asks Omega in English, "Did I ever tell you Shadow is a robot?" She's meant to be
And,
asking him, "Do you think that Shadow is a robot?"
okay.
Like it's meant to be an ominous question, not a
Yeah.
confirmation.
Right. Did I ever tell you that Shadow's a android and never mind. Let's
Robots,
go,
and
or whatever the
Omega's
heck it
response
says.
doesn't make sense, and he says the
Yeah.
original must exist somewhere. It's like, okay, it's not what I said, but sure.
Yeah, but it is
The
real
original
Shadow, right?
must exist somewhere.
But it is the real Shadow, right? Or am I misremembering
It
what Shadow
is.
said?
It is end up actually being the real Shadow because you find out at the end of Shadow the Hedgehog, 10 minutes into the final boss.
Yeah, we
Nobody does.
we love that payoff. Let's go.
Oh my god.
Stupidest way to throw that in at the last. It's like they didn't know where to put this like important thing in the game. It's like, you know what? The game ships out tomorrow. Just put it in the final boss, whatever.
Yeah, the more I think about it, like Heroes is not quite like, okay, we're in shit territory, but it was like starting that trend, and then Shadow is like, let's bang in on the shit. Let's bang in on the shit factor.
They had a
And
whole
it's
like
God
big
damn.
10-minute stage before the final boss in Shadow. Why not put it in there?
Yeah, there was
Not
enough
10
in that
minutes
stage.
into the final boss. That's also time based off your rings.
Oh no. Yeah, that's true.
And,
They did
like,
have a stupidly long
idea.
like
Why?
final level before that final boss. It just felt so repetitive. They could have broke it up a little bit.
Did they purposefully not answer it in Heroes just so they could have Shadow the game?
Precisely. That is exactly what
Yeah,
they did.
I hate how they treat Shadow in Heroes because it's just like first of all, I mean, okay, there are conflicting interviews from Izuka on this, but one interview is like he was meant to die and stay dead, and the other one was like, no, we always intended to bring Shadow back. So like he's always been a little bit flaky in his own. He's always been like a little bit flaky in his own interviews. So it's like, which one do you believe? You know,
I believe that he was meant to be dead.
According to the writer, you know, the person who personifies Shadow, who's the writer of SA2 and Heroes, who loves the character to death. I'm pretty sure that, yeah, the story was meant to not bring Shadow back, but then, like, when he had to in Heroes, due to character popularity, supposedly, we don't really know for sure, because there are conflicting statements.
That was confirmed somewhere.
That was confirmed? Okay, because I thought we've had... Because, like we said, Azuka said that, no, we always intended to bring Shadow back. Like, that is another statement from him, right?
They did it solely for the fans, but they didn't want to have to go through with it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
they
it's...
just did it because people were going to like it, but the writers themselves didn't like the idea. But
yeah, I feel like SA2, it completed Shadow's arc, right?
Oh,
it completed his character.
Yeah, 06 did, but like... I mean, okay, I'll probably get into this.
SA2
yeah.
ended Shadow, right? It completed the Shadow arc, but then instead, oh god, you know, he's back in Heroes. When I just think the whole bringing Shadow thing back was a mistake. I guess due to character popularity, they had to, but...
Yeah.
I'm never a fan of when games do that. It just frustrates me.
It's like if Aerith died in Final Fantasy VII, and then they actually gave into the fan demand of like updating the game to bring Aerith back, like they wanted, like fans wanted.
And this isn't SA2's fault, but retroactively, it completely saps the emotion out of the ending in SA2. It's like, yeah, who gives a shit? He's back in Heroes.
Yep.
Like, that's not SA2's fault, but it's like that entire scene and the entire ending of SA2 is just no longer... It's lost its weight because Shadow just returns the next game.
Funnily enough, another thing where they did that, where it didn't even really need to happen, they just felt like doing it with Sonic X's anime. Like, in the Japanese version, when he died, it is legitimately depressing. Just like you see him fall, you see how he's dying. But then they bring him back in Sonic X. They just do the same thing they did in Shadow, where it's like, yeah, Eggman kind of just saved him. It's like, oh, okay, well, thanks, I guess. I don't know how or where you were doing this, but
I mean, we live in a universe where Shadow came back, so it feels weird to say I would have him not to come back, wanted him to not come back, but
honestly,
looking back, like, because if he was never brought back, would we have missed him? I don't think so.
Like, I find it funny because if they didn't bring him back, he would have been a very underwhelming character in SA2 as a whole, because that'd be the only time you play as him, and he gets 4 stages.
Well,
which is sad. It's like he's memorable, but like, would a bunch of kids have the same like attachment to him if he wasn't in Hero Shadow the Hedgehog in 06? I don't know. Like,
they could have treated him like Gamma.
Yeah, they could have, and I love Gamma. Gamma's like the only character in Sonic Adventure with like a meaningful... I mean, Tails too, but...
I'm throwing this out there. Or they could have went with the angle that it is not the real Shadow, and that the Shadow from SA2 is dead. But they didn't want to do that. Why not?
They could have just done, I'm a copy, but you know what? I'm okay with that.
And then, like, the Sonic and Shadow...
Did it have to be the real one? Did it have to be the real Shadow? Why?
Yeah.
It didn't need to be.
I know the game throws a lot of things in like the Japanese script of making it a little bit closer to other people knowing that it's Shadow. Like when Sonic and Shadow fight each other and the Team Sonic and Team Dark fights, I'm pretty sure Sonic, like in English he says, talk about stubborn and full of surprises or something when he sees him.
Yep.
But in Japanese, I'm pretty sure it says something more along the lines of what they said to each other when they first fought. Like, I mean, sorry, not when they first fought, but when they fought on the Ark. Yeah, like, when Shadow says, you know, you're more than just a hedgehog, or whatever they say in Japanese there, I don't remember, but I know it references that in the original Japanese script, and that's a cool little in-universe continuity consistency that's kind of thrown away in the English
Iggy says, well, if it wasn't the real Shadow, what would be the point of keeping him around? It's still Shadow. It's just a copy. Who cares? I guess. I don't know.
What's funny is that is one of the endings of the game for Shadow, but it doesn't take that direction the way it does. But
yeah, no, he just gets depressed as fuck and like whatever else in that ending. I'm just an android.
Would it really
I'm not
matter
meant to live. Or oh no, there are two when he's an android, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The good,
Would
the
it
happy,
really
the
matter?
happy ending and the depressing ending.
Yeah.
Would it really matter if we were not playing the Shadow from SA2, but a different Shadow? It's still the same character design.
I don't know. Because, like, I mean, I don't know. That's a hard topic. We'll probably get more into that when Shadow the Hedgehog is a topic. Because that game, I feel like more of that podcast is going to be like, what themes could this game, or should this game have tackled instead of the game? Like, I feel like it's going to be half and half with that podcast. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. But as far as they treat Shadow in this game, I don't really like it that much. I feel like the fact that none of the characters tell him what the hell is going on just feels like...
Rouge is just being a bitch. She's not saying a goddamn thing.
Yeah, why?
Like,
what the hell?
Everything. What are you doing, girl?
Yeah, I don't understand that. Or, like, when Sonic and Shadow fight each other, I guess, like, it's... Like, come on, like...
The most confusing thing for me with Shadow's arc in Heroes is at the end of Big Albatross, he just looks at that robotic version of himself. It's just like, what?
Existential crisis setting in at all? No?
Are
Maybe?
they trying to imply that those capsules we were destroying in Bullet Station had Shadow in them? Because I don't see anything in them. And if they were actually in them, like, story-wise, it's pretty messed up that we're just destroying them, just saying.
Yeah. But, like... what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something, but... Oh yeah, do the characters know that he's the real Shadow or not in Heroes?
They just see, oh, it's Shadow.
I mean, they say, like, in the Fortress stage... Or, sorry, not the Fortress stage. In Mystic Mansion or whatever, like, right after the Sonic and Shadow fight, or the Team Sonic and Team Dark fight, Knuckles, like, he like, pokes fun at the fact that Tails is scared of ghosts. He's like, maybe that was a ghost of Shadow we just saw, and shit like that. So it kind of just feels like it's taking a lot more of a childish approach. Which feels,
they didn't even take it seriously.
Yeah, it feels very in contrast to the fact that you were just depressed as fuck over the fact that Shadow just died, and Sonic's just like... He has his inhibitor rings.
Too with him.
Yeah.
and you see him for like 20 seconds of like, so we're just going to pretend we just didn't see someone who died.
Yeah.
We're not going to go off that. We're just going to pretend, okay, whatever. Like,
yeah, that's actually, now that you mentioned that, why is Team Sonic just like, hey, Shadow, long time no see?
Yeah, like, and they'd be, like, when
the famous Sonic line, long time no see.
Like they just died in SA2.
See him in the final boss, and there's like, oh, hey, what's up? It's like, no, not what's up. Why are you here? How are you here?
Right.
Yeah, that's.
It's not to go up when you beat the final boss, because Sonic just runs up. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah. I don't really get it, which is, it almost makes me feel like if you're not going to take the character seriously, don't use them at all. And it was just, I don't know, I feel like this game is just a mess. Like, it feels like there's too much pressure from all these sides. Like, use all these characters, have these team fights, do it in, like, a year or whatever. Like, have all this stuff in. Don't worry about the core gameplay. And it's just like...
They wanted assets of an anime, but they used the tropes of a Saturday morning cartoon.
For real. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, and another thing, doesn't Sonic have like a line that he calls Shadow his twin or something in Heroes?
No, Shadow says, what's with that hedgehog that looks like my twin?
Yeah.
And,
because I feel
Shadow,
like that kind of...
thinking about that when you start hanging castle, you think, the hedgehog that looks like me. Just who am I? It's just like, oh, well, I wish I could tell you too, Shadow, but everyone's being a complete asshole to you, so sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
I feel like Heroes, and particularly Shadow, also make things about SA2 and Retrospect fucking worse. Like, so the mistake for Sonic and Shadow, I always thought that was really dumb in SA2. I still think it's dumb. But then Shadow is like, oh yeah, the gun commander had a vendetta against Shadow. Okay, but if he did, why the fuck is Sonic being captured in SA2 and not Shadow? What's going on here? Why is the gun commander he hates Shadow. What's going on then in SA2? What the fuck?
I never thought of that.
I haven't thought about
He
it
is,
in
like,
retrospect.
Commander.
Yeah. I've not thought about it
Shadow
in the
story is
retrospect
so sad.
of Shadow the Hedgehog story. I feel like Shadow the Hedgehog story should have gone, and I talked about this in the SA2 podcast, and I'm sure we're going to get into it with Shadow. And I'll say this, and then we'll move back on to whatever Sonic Heroes has. Is that I feel like Shadow the Hedgehog should have done more of tackling the topics of like the connections between Shadow and Sonic that they tried to start conveying in SA2, like clearly, but didn't do very well, and just that should have been like Shadow the Hedgehog, where it was like a better origin story of whatever the hell they were trying to tackle in Sonic Adventure 2, but didn't finish. But instead, they go into aliens and all this all this stuff that has nothing to do with the Shadow that we know now. But yeah, so, and I don't even have a problem with aliens being in Sonic game in itself, like some people do. But anyway, back to Sonic Heroes. It definitely speaks volumes, the fact that, like, when we think about the story of Sonic Heroes, Shadow the Hedgehog is such, like, a point of contention because of the fact that he's there and no one, like, respects him as whatever happened in the last game. But let's talk about the overarching plot, which is the fact that Metal Sonic is back, which is cool. I like that Metal is in this game.
Neo Metal Sonic is my favorite design of Metal Sonic. In fact, it's probably one of my favorite Sonic designs in general. I just love how he looks in this game.
I like the regular design for Metal, but I don't mind Neo Metal Sonic either. I feel like it looks pretty cool.
I love this fucking cape. It just looks so interesting.
Oh yeah, that's true. He does have a cape and stuff.
He looks badass in it.
So, as far as this goes, so pretty much what happens is Metal Sonic is like this mastermind behind everything, where he can make clones of himself. He can like disguise himself as other people. He turns himself into Sonic and like captures the Chao, and like just it just like, yeah, essentially he's just like this huge smart brainiac behind all of this stuff that's happening in Sonic Heroes, which like historically hasn't been Metal's like characteristic, right? It's just been
Sonic was the closest thing to that, but like that's not Metal Sonic. People always think they're the same character. They aren't.
Yeah, Mecha Sonic isn't Metal Sonic. So Metal Sonic hasn't really had that persona up until this game, where all of a sudden he's just like, I am done with this. I'm apparently like super smart, and I'm gonna like work behind the scenes and trick everyone to come to Egg Fleet. I've stolen all their data, and now I have the Chaos Emeralds. Or no, they don't. He doesn't even use the Chaos Emeralds. He just has the Chaos DNA to turn into whatever. But I think that that's an interesting concept. It does feel a little weird for Metal Sonic to be doing that, but it's sort of a cool concept.
Something always threw me off with him having the ultimate life and Chaos's power. Chaos, or the ultimate life or his power, it actually works in the game because he does eventually use Chaos Control in the final boss.
Yeah.
Which, I really like that idea. But like the Chaos power, what is he doing that's representing Chaos's power?
He turned into Big Boy. He turned into Big Boy Lizard.
But he needed the negative energy of the emeralds to enable to do that in Sonic Adventure. Metal Sonic has nothing of that.
Well,
that's true.
In SA2, isn't there like well, no, it's not the Bio Lizard, but the Bio Lizard has an organ or whatever that allows him to do that shit, Chaos Control or whatever.
Yeah, it's also theorized that Bio Lizard is like based off of Chaos and stuff, but
he was genes of, or like DNA samples of Chaos are like attributed into the Bio Lizard because he was still trying to figure out how to make the ultimate life form, and that's why there's so many artificial Chaos around.
Is that in a guide, or is this fan theory? Because like I subscribe to it being like a fan theory that I subscribe to, but I don't know if it was actually stated in any of the guides.
There's something like that around. I don't know where it was from, but I'm pretty sure that's like official information.
Interesting.
But yeah.
Well, have to
kind of wish these games. I think the fact that there is a lot of confusion about what's really going on is a little bit of a fault on the developers and writers' part. I kind of wish some things were just clearer and less fan theory crafty, by nature. But
Yeah.
I agree with that, but I'm also going to defend it and say that Sonic Adventure 2 was rushed with literally cut scenes
yeah.
and stuff like that, where the writers was literally like, I would give up an arm to have these cutscenes
Yeah,
in here,
I read that, yeah.
and I'm just like,
I mean,
God
that's
damn,
sad.
and
It
that's
is
why I wish
sad.
Shadow the Hedgehog like capitalized on that, but it doesn't. It doesn't do
Yeah.
that.
Shadow
You
the
really
Hedgehog. You know, one of the things that I think SA2 really could have benefited from is more scenes between like Shadow and Maria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at the end of it, I guess I guess the only story we can talk about is SA2 or Shadow, because Heroes just has nothing to talk about.
God damn it, Heroes.
But like, yeah, in SA2, it's like Amy talks to him, and all of a sudden Shadow is like, "Oh shit, let's do a 180 and fucking help them out," even though I just was trying to destroy the entire world. It just feels so sudden. It just feels like it kind of comes out of nowhere, and more scenes like between Shadow and Maria to build up that dynamic and get him to that, you know, turnaround more gradually and like more naturally. I think that's one of the things that must have been cut. Because that's one of the most sudden feeling parts in the game to me, that Shadow just 180s.
Yeah, other
from
than
the entire
like
thing he's been doing.
They could have made like a whole scene of him getting like at least some kind of memory back.
Yeah.
Or like not remember.
well,
like,
they sort of
where
did
he
with
just remembers-
Rouge. They sort of did with like saving Rouge, right? A little bit, like that.
Yeah,
was-
faintly. But they
Yeah.
should have done something like where he just had a memory of just him and Maria just, you know, being normal, and then she just says something with him where she's just like, "Are you?" Or they kind of do that with the Rouge scene, but they could have done another one where she was just saying, before, without even the one where she's on her last words and dying, where she would just be saying like, "Shadow, do you think we can save people like that, or whatever the hell, something like that?" And
Yeah.
where Shadow can just agree to, he's like, "Wow, yeah, she was right. I agreed with that."
Yeah, I think it's like striking the balance between Shadow trying to suppress those memories and find out what's real and what's fake, and having it actually come to its natural conclusion, because if Shadow is remembering too much before the end of the game where he's actually destroying the world, then would he go back on that and change it so that that wasn't a conflict in the first place? How do you make it so Shadow's actually going through with this, even though he remembers what Maria's saying, or not? I feel like you'd have to figure that out first, and they probably could have done that for sure.
Yeah, that's probably one of the things where cutscenes must come in a bit.
Yeah.
And Shadow did not take the opportunity to really tap into those things. Shadow's story is a bunch of bullshit. And I mean, it's got 10 endings, and none of them mean a goddamn thing. It's like,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, they don't actually confirm which ending of those 10 the last story uses.
Yeah, I don't think it
presume
uses
none of
any.
them.
The only thing that's
Yeah.
like canon is like Shadow going to find the Chaos Emeralds, Black Doom coming to the Earth, and then the last story, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, but it's
Yeah,
weird because instances of things that happen in the stories are assumed to be more canon than others. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Hero's story, I honestly don't have a lot to say.
Heroes doesn't
Metatronix
really have
cool.
much of a story besides just the last second plot twist.
yeah, like I was saying, I don't know if it was earlier or yesterday, but I like how they take things from the lore of Sonic in general, and they use it in Sonic Heroes, like the fact that Metal Sonic copying Chow data gives him, or Froggy data gives him Chaos data because of the fact
Yeah.
that Froggy was in Chaos at one point, which, like, you
Yeah.
wouldn't know that if you didn't play Sonic Adventure, but it's a cool little thing that's just there, and I like that stuff in Heroes, and I like that in general. Like, it's fine to be a lighthearted story and like have those little things included, but it becomes a problem when you try to like inject Shadow into the story and have it be like this weird serious thing that doesn't pay off until the last 10 minutes of the final
feels
boss
like they
in
were
Shadow the
trying to do-
Hedgehog.
Feels like they were trying to do the one of those like vague, but you know what's coming things. Kind of like what a Kingdom Hearts game does, where like all this stuff. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense, but everything will be answered soon. But for like with Shadow's arc, not everything gets answered. In fact, it just raises more questions after in the end.
Yeah.
It's just like that's not how you write a character.
Yeah, and like with that being
There's no
said,
closure,
it's like
basically.
if like comparing it to Kingdom Hearts, it's like you kind of know what you're getting into with those games. And Sonic Heroes, the game is trying to be like a lighthearted story where it's like this is the beginning and this is the end. Kingdom Hearts doesn't do that. Kingdom Hearts is like, you know that the story doesn't end here. It's like at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake, you know that you don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, they tried doing that with Shadow when and then suddenly Shadow the Hedgehog's game appears. Like, yeah, it exists, but like it just feels like blunt, I guess.
Yeah,
Weird.
Yeah, and I guess Team Dark story, it feels tonally it's tonally it kind of feels it. I guess the tone isn't that deep, but like it feels a little more out of place compared to the other teams because the other teams is just Team Sonic wants to destroy Eggman, Team Rose wants to find back Froggy and Chocola, and Chaotix wants to get paid. Team Dark, it's like a Shadow. Is this the real one? Let's raise some questions. It's like, god damn, it's like what is going on compared to these other teams? Like,
it always makes me think of 06's Shadow story, and honestly, I really like Shadow's campaign in that game just because everyone.
It's the best one.
It actually goes in depth. It honestly really makes me appreciate Rouge as a character throughout it because she's Shadow's bestie. Like she will always be there for him, and I really respect that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And even in here, like in Heroes, you see that beginning. She really grows a bond with him.
Yeah. So, what do we think about the dialogue of this game? Because I've heard conflicting things.
Crap. Please. Get it out of my face.
It's like they 4-kids the game.
Yeah, because like I've heard, like I think it's like the cheesiest thing I've ever heard in my life, but I've heard other people say some of it is cheesy, but it's like it's really charming at the same time, and I'm just like, there are very few things in this game where it's like charming to me. Like I hate
it's self-aware.
I hate the Sonic and Shadow line where they're like, I know it's like maybe it's not memed to death as much as other things, but it's like, oh, you have a date with Eggman too? That'll be a date to die for. To die for. And then Sonic's like, hey, that's my line. I'm like, when the fuck have you ever said that? What does that mean? What do you mean that's your line? You have never said that. It'll be a date to die for. Like, what are you talking about?
I love the headcanon.
Like, you gotta have to marry me, and then Sonic's like, no way, and it's like.
Or like, obviously, this is the real superpower of teamwork, or whatever the heck.
The last story is absolutely cringeworthy with the dialogue.
I can't help but laugh.
I was gonna say, I love that stupid headcanon that Amy is trying to get Sonic, but Sonic doesn't want Amy. Sonic wants Shadow or Eggman. Because whenever you see Amy, she's like, well, there's Eggman, there's Sonic. It's like, and it's your fault. Sonic and I are together. It's like, Maka, there, buddy.
Yeah. It's like the Goku and Vegeta ships, but I mean, Sonic and Shadow is definitely a popular ship, honestly, so I'm not surprised.
I just love how the line for Japanese Amy, she'll say in Casino Park where there's Eggman and there's Sonic, and then when you get to Egg Emperor, she's like, it's your fault Sonic and I are together. It's like, you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, what do you mean?
You know, or...
Yeah, what do you know that we don't?
Well, speaking of dialogue, I think the gameplay dialogue is annoying as fuck.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even get into that, huh? It's like...
I'm falling! Shut the fuck up, bitch. Like, please.
The I'm falling line always just sounded like Tommy Pickles to me. Or, yeah, Tommy Pickles. Remember right.
Yeah, I don't mind it as much with... I think Team Sonic is, like, the most egregious, right? Like,
yeah. Tails is just shut the fuck up.
I like the concept of them talking mid stages to have conversations, but not when they're recycling them.
Yeah, like when you hear the same thing. Yeah, when you hear the same exact lines in later levels and other sections, it's just like it kind of feels a little cheap to me.
If I'm being honest, I think I know why they're so like repetitive. Is because that the game has 4 different versions of the game of consoles. And the game likes to explain inputs to you. They had the voice actors explain every hint for every platform, meaning they had to do the same dialogue for every hint 4 times.
Yeah.
And that is an extremely, extremely large amount of audio files. Like
Yeah.
when you go through them, and I honestly can't blame them for not wanting to do more after that.
Yeah, that actually does make like some sense. Yeah, I get like the in-stage dialogue. It does get a little bit annoying. I don't
Well, I
have
wish
as
there was
much
an
of a
option to turn
problem.
it off.
Yeah, that's true. This is a lot of accessibility options and stuff like that weren't really
Exist
around it.
that much
Yeah,
back then,
they
yeah.
weren't really the
Yeah.
priority. Even now in like a lot of Nintendo games, they don't give a shit about accessibility options, which is really
Yeah,
funny
Nintendo
looking at
is
like
a shitty outlier in that regard.
yeah, like a lot of indie games and like other like big companies all care about accessibility options for the most part. Nintendo's just like, ha ha ha, no.
Man.
Yeah, it is a little funny. But
Yeah, if you just had an option to turn that shit off, that would have been cool.
I mean, technically there
Always
is.
does that.
If you type in "Charmy shut up" in the game's file, it'll or like in the game's like directory, it'll just mutes them.
wait, for real?
Really?
Stupidest. Yeah, there's actually a hidden like cheat code, quote unquote thing, where if you just add in like "Charmy shut up" or whatever, like in the executable, it will literally just mute their like their hints and everything.
Interesting. So why didn't they put that in the game?
No.
Probably
You-
just
Easter
forgot,
eggs.
or it wasn't finished. Just like probably a lot of
I
things
mean,
in the game.
you could do it on the PC version just fine, and it's finished. And technically, it's possible in the GameCube version with modding, and it's still finished. So that's
Oh,
not
wow.
even a reason.
Yeah, I mean, like they just didn't throw the option in because like that obviously requires more assets in the options menu and whatever else, probably.
I
Or
mean,
they
the game
just
already
like
has like 5 option settings. You got the controller vibration, the
Yeah.
language, the deflickering, the save files. It's like I got
Yeah.
a lot of settings.
yeah, I think they
Could-
could have thrown it into the audio.
Yeah. And like, so dialogue, yeah, it definitely feels more childish compared to like SA1 and 2.
That's kind of why I say this game's like a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like SA1 and 2 is kind of like those things where pretty much all ages can like enjoy it.
Appreciate.
Whereas with Heroes, it's like this feels very much like written towards kids because
The theme
I
song
don't know
is
how
equal
I'm
itself.
supposed to like get much out of this, or like SA2 is a game I wouldn't shut off the TV if I'm caught playing it and the cutscene is playing. But with Heroes, if there's like a team battle and that story, I mean the final story and Sonic saying the real power of teamwork, and somebody
I
came
think
in,
I
I'd be like,
legitimately cringed the first time I heard that. Like,
I
actually,
do.
Like,
I
no
cringe every
need
time
for
I hear
I'm
it.
pretty sure I did.
if you
I'm
know, I
like-
wouldn't want to be walked into if I'm watching Heroes cutscenes.
It's like
It's
you'd
my
rather
point.
keep like porn up or something
I'm gonna,
like that.
I'm
than
gonna say,
Yeah.
I'm gonna switch to porn. That's easier to explain.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, not
funny.
all the cutscenes are like that, obviously, but there are some examples where it's like, oh god,
Yeah.
And then
cringe, bro.
And then we can talk about how some voice actors are just like the kids of other voice actors, which is why they don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
isn't
I was
good.
gonna say,
isn't
you can
Tails?
Tails and Charmy.
You can segue into voice acting, I guess, from dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, going
because,
into
I mean,
voice acting, I think Sonic and Shadow are well done. Rouge, Lonnie Manella reprises her role. Tails is horrific.
Terrible. Yeah.
And
8-year-old boy.
yeah, I feel terrible for that boy. I don't know. It's just
How he's
so.
doing nowadays.
Yeah, I wonder what he's up to now. I hope he's like voice acting. His voice acting career is taking off.
I don't think he does voice acting anymore. Actually, I've been on behind the voice actors. I don't think he does voice acting anymore. He did like I think he did something in Thrillville, and that was it.
Mm.
Very cool. Yeah, so that's not the best at all. Look at all those Eggman's robots. Is another
Oh,
funny
yeah.
dialogue that I forgot to mention. Where, yeah, I think Knuckles is fine and good. Omega is good. The Chaotix are fine.
I love
SPO kind of like cracks
I
me
think
up a bit.
I think Charmy.
SPO
is
sounds like
annoying.
SPO sounds like he feels like he needs like a cane because he sounds so damn old. He's meant to be 15.
I don't know. I think
he sounds like
Charmy's
he's
annoying
70.
as shit.
Yeah,
I feel
I
like
mean,
that's meant to be his character. Though,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
I don't
it is.
know.
But Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't mind the voice acting so much for Charmy though. I feel like the voice acting is like fine. It's more just like his personification. SBO's really funny to listen to because he's like so serious. I forget what he says like as like a instead of being like a yes. What does he say? Isn't he just like he doesn't say like yeah, ultimate ninja power or something?
I love when you get an E rank. Insulting. Your training has been a waste of time.
Yeah, they're like it's so funny. It's so funny to listen to.
I love Omega's voice actor just because he's smug like everywhere. And when you knock a teammate off in the first fight, he's just like, "Well, it's a load off my back."
Yeah,
like,
exactly. He's
wow,
like, he's like, they're out of my way now. I will eliminate everyone else or whatever he says in English. I don't remember. I found it really funny though.
Yeah, I think most of the. I mean, I think Amy's voice actress has been good. Big. We don't talk about Big. We never do.
Big is whatever.
I think this is an unpopular opinion, but I think Ryan Drummond was not good in this one compared to SA2.
He's too energetic, but I don't know if I like that or not.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that is
example,
unpopular. That's like a hot take because most people were like, "This is when he was at his best." That's like the popular opinion.
Dialogue. It could have been part of the dialogue, but when he's like, what's the line again? When he's like, "Did you really think you could defeat me by turning into a monster?"
I actually don't mind that one. I like that one.
I was gonna say I like when Sonic gets aggressive like that with his tone. Like he does it with Sonic, he does it with Super Sonic and Heroes, he does it with Darkspine Sonic and Secret Rings, and he does it in one other game when he's super. And he's just like, I like when he's like in that type of tone.
Well,
Too
in
bad
Darkspine,
it's all over. For you, it's like no.
Well, that's just the dialogue,
dude.
in my opinion.
Up,
that's
dude.
the.
I guess
That,
bad, but the tone is good.
So.
Yeah.
You got the tone right.
I don't mind by turning into a monster, but maybe that's just like my inner edgelord, freaking Sonic and Shadow versus Nazo or whatever. And the end when they turn into Hyper Sonic and Hyper Shadow, maybe that's just like my like inner kid talking because he says that line there too. But no, I actually don't think that's bad. I actually like the aggressive tone sometimes. I actually I like Jason Griffith as Sonic a lot. So
I prefer Jason in the later games. This is an unpopular opinion again, but I'm actually not too big of a fan of Ryan as Sonic. I don't think he's bad, but I find it hard to explain. But his tone seems just a little bit too high pitched and juvenile to me for Sonic. But I guess that's very subjective.
Yeah, that would say it's subjective. I like Ryan. I think it's just the dialogue and the writing of Sonic Heroes itself that's a little bit like cringy and maybe not so much.
It also doesn't help that one of the games he has to base his like scripting off of was his first game for Adventure. That game didn't actually have like a script, like a what's the word, like the script manager or whatever. They didn't have anyone to tell them what the tone was. They kind of just had to wing the entire game's dialogue. And honestly, with what they did, it honestly wasn't bad.
Wasn't there a thing where like I think you can kind of tell that the voice acting is recorded separately for SA2 and Heroes, right? I think you can kind of tell that it's not like it's just recorded separately in their own.
You mean like the voice actors themselves being in separate sessions?
They didn't know the context of the other actor.
That's very likely what happened.
That's actually kind of common in voice acting in general. If they're not going in like as a session together.
I guess, but I feel like you can kind of tell in these games. There's the voice acting is good, but I even feel this in SA2. It feels like sometimes the way the lines are delivered is not necessarily how you would sound if you bounce off of somebody or in the situation that you're in. It's hard to explain.
No, I get what you're saying.
Intricacies hard to say, but it's like it doesn't entirely feel like a supernatural conversation sometimes with this game.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think Sonic Adventure 2 maybe handles it a little bit better than in Sonic Heroes, but also in Sonic Heroes there's so much dialogue in like the stages and stuff too, where it feels like that, where there's like these weird gaps in between like them saying stuff and whatnot. Like even when they're all talking at the beginning of a level or something like that, where one's like, "Yeah, we're gonna crack this egg wide open," and Knuckles is like, and Chelsea's like, "Yeah, let's go," and like these weird gaps in between each of their lines.
I like the one where it's Team Chaotix going to Hang Castle, where Charmy's like, "Nothing new to you, Vector." What? Like, that reaction was that late, buddy?
Yeah, it's really strange. But all right, so to wrap up today, because I feel like we've gone over a lot of stuff, and we've gone pretty into detail here, and we have been going for actually an hour longer than I thought we were going to be going for.
We do not want to become famous, Zether Chin. Although, I shall not speak for Juice and Lemurus if they want to become.
Oh yeah, no, I'm good actually. I'm good from Zetherchin right there. I think I do want to become famous. Why don't let me go buy followers on bigfollows.com. Yeah. Thank you.
I want my credit card information. How does that get me followed?
Yeah, do you need my social? Because if you do, I will gladly DM you. Thank you so much, Zetherchin. But anyway, yeah. So. Let's wrap up talking about our favorite stages in music, and then give final thoughts, and then end the podcast here. Lem, you could go first.
Mystic Mansion is just my immediate one for both the favorite stage and favorite music. I love the concept of the warps. I love the way the level design is. I love the scenery. I love the aesthetics of the level. The way the bobsled is. You can have that whole section. I just love it looks so beautifully. I love the way the music is in each section. It's actually scripted depending on where you are. And I just love the stage for some reason. I know people don't really like it because of the last section, which is completely justified. I can understand that those pumpkins for Sonic can be a complete jerk, and I completely get it. But like when you know how to do it, it's really fun.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with it. I just gave them time to spawn.
Yeah, people don't think to do that. They're too used to SA1 or 2 where they just spam the homing attack. This is not a game you want to do that in.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'll go flying before it actually spawns in and locks on.
Yeah.
It's just Shadow is the same way. How about you, Retrospective?
My favorite stage is probably Egg Fleet and maybe Ocean Palace or something. Yeah, I mean, I find it hard to nail down my favorite stage. Outside of the casino levels, I think they're all pretty good. I guess I'm not a fan. I actually the weakest part for me is the combination of the casino and the canyon levels, zone 3 and 4. I think 1 and 2 are good, and then 5, 6, and 7 are good. But the combo of 3 and 4 is the low point for me. Because even when Rail Canyon, it's just grinding on rails a lot. Yeah, you're just kind of grinding.
Yeah, and you have to know where the speed pads are too to get through it fast and constantly switch left and right.
Yeah. So I think otherwise the stages are all. I don't really have a particular standout favorite. In terms of music, Ocean Palace is definitely one.
It's a good one.
Yeah, I think in terms of stage music, it's my favorite stage theme, but I think my favorite music in the game is actually just the main menu music, which sounds weird to say, but...
I mean, I was going to say some of my favorite tracks are literally the two-player music, because those go completely overlooked, and they are complete bangers.
The main menu theme is actually playing on the stream right now, too. All the menu themes.
Yeah, I don't remember the two-player themes, actually.
They are pretty short and sweet, but they are honestly really nice bangers.
Are they on the OST release?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Cool.
I don't remember them.
They're usually called Ring Race, or Bobsled Race, or Quick Race, or something like that.
Well, what about you, Juice?
We forgot to talk about the bobsleds. God, my favorite part of the game. No,
I brought them up a few times.
Oh, did you? I don't even remember.
Yeah,
he did.
God damn, it's been so long since then.
In fact, before we jump onto that, I just want to say one thing about the bobsled. The one thing that frustrates me to no end with the bobsleds, the section where they explain the bobsled mechanics, is not what you do in game. They're they'll say that when Sonic falls up and Tails falls off.
Oh,
Tails
yeah.
never falls off.
Yeah,
He's
you
the
just
last one to
yeah,
fall
you
off.
die.
Like he says you can't jump.
Yeah, you
after
can't
Knuckles.
jump. Yeah.
Yeah, Knuckles and Sonic get fallen off. Tails is always on it until you just die.
Yeah, it also says
It
your
doesn't also restrict your jumping. It just restricts your moving left and right. So I really want to know what they were thinking with that, because they would have really changed that.
Also, at points it said that like if Sonic gets knocked off, it cuts your speed. But then one time Sonic got knocked off, and I had like plenty of speed as well. So I don't know.
Downhill slopes will still give you speed, but when you're going uphill,
Oh, okay. So it's dependent on the slopes. Also, it doesn't even tell you to jump when you first go on the bobsled. So that when you eventually encounter a place where you have to jump, it's like I didn't even know that until it was like a trial and error thing. It's like, oh, okay, I do have to hit the A button to jump over this thing. I don't know wherever the second bobsled section is, but it was like, oh, okay. But yeah, my favorite stage is probably Egg Fleet. Because of how open it is and how I can actually see a lot of my extra paths that I can take, and I feel like that's the place where I'm able to take advantage of the game mechanics the most, and it doesn't baby me. So I like that. My favorite music would probably be Mystic Mansion, Ocean Palace, and Seaside Hill. I think those are my favorite tracks.
Frog Forest is a good one in terms of music too.
I love the ambience of Frog Forest.
Yeah, in game it's good, for sure. Other than that, I like Follow Me, the Team Rose theme.
You know what? I respect that. It's a banger.
Yeah. And
I
then
like Team Chaotix's theme.
oh, that's
I
a
like
good
that
one too. Yeah.
One small thing, I'm gonna ruin the song for you, Juice. But there's part of the lyrics where you can hear it cut off without actually like transitioning out when she's singing. She's like,
Oh.
I see your face. You don't hear her finish off the C part.
Oh, well, now the song's
interesting.
ruined.
Now when you
Yeah.
hear that, you're gonna probably think that it's like, oh my god, he was right.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it like
I've ruined
that
that
much.
for so many people, and I'm going to continue doing that for people because I'm an asshole.
Damn, they just didn't.
No, I think the Team
think they fixed
Chaotix
that.
one is a banger.
I like the joke video where Team Chaotix's theme is just being used for a workout video. Advertise one of those workout machines.
And here's yet another unpopular RZ opinion, and I think that What I'm Made Of is kind of meh.
No, I actually agree. So
All right, I'm out of here. Wow, I hate you.
no, I think What I'm Made Of is just like mid. Like
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people say it's like the best one. I don't mind it that much. Like I don't think it's bad. Like I don't think it's like the beginning of having to listen to Seven Rings in Hand over and over again in Sonic and the Secret Rings, or Night of the Wind, which like the beginning lyrics of that is "Hey y'all" actually like irritates me, and like, but I don't think it's as good as like Open Your Heart, or especially not Live and Learn, which is actually like Live and Learn is literally one of my favorite songs. Like as a composer, like what that song does, I really like, and it all kind of like fits in with each other, like the instrumentation with the vocals themselves. But like What I'm Made Of, I'm just like, this song is like okay. Like some parts of it I like, and some parts of it I'm like okay, but it doesn't like ever get me going like some of the other Crush 40 songs do.
What are the Live and Learn lyrics talking about, Juice? I still don't know to this day.
I would say they're talking about the entire like lesson that the game is trying to give to you. So it's like, well, are you saying like you can't understand the lyrics themselves because of like the vocalists?
Well, that's one thing, yes.
Yeah.
But the second one is I don't know what the lyrics are talking about.
The message, you mean?
I mean, I would say it's literally telling you not to worry about the past, or like take your mistakes, learn from them, and continue moving forward. Would be the main.
But it's not really a theme in the game, I think.
You don't think
that
so?
Much.
With Shadow the Hedgehog, his entire like arc of like learning out who he is, and then like deciding in the last moment to
isn't
like.
Isn't that what Shadow's theme is for?
I mean, but Sonic Adventure 2 is like Shadow's story.
I guess so.
I don't like. It's like deciding at the last minute. Okay, I have. Wow, all of this shitty things I did, and like everyone's going to accept me in this final moment, and I'm going to turn myself around now that I've learned this, and I'm going to live free and save the world, and that's kind of what. But I mean, obviously, the lyrics can apply to like anyone in like basic in their own lives, which is why I like it so
I
much.
feel like "Open Your Heart" was more directly related to the themes of SA1. "Open Your Heart"
agree.
is literally, you know, relating to chaos and let go of like the, open your heart to love, and then
Yeah, instead of closing it and locking
yeah.
yourself in the Master Emerald again.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. I can.
What
that's
I'm made of is
agreeable.
not really thematically. It's just like we're being kick-ass, but it's not. But Heroes doesn't have a theme, I guess, so it's hard to.
Yeah.
tie.
Heroes is like main theme. It doesn't really have one.
Friendship.
Yeah, it's
Friendship.
just
Power
like
of friendship.
yeah. What I'm made of just kind of feels like it's like a Sonic Power Show versus Metal Sonic. Like, oh, you did all this to show me this,
Yeah.
and yet I'm still the better Hedgehog. I don't care
Yeah.
what you think you are. This is what I'm made of. That's kind of what I get from it, which is cool. But it's not as much of an like Live and Learn. The entire game, the menus, all the leitmotifs throughout the levels builds up to Live and Learn. Heroes doesn't do anything like that.
Secret
So-
Rings could have really built off that, but nah, just put the theme.
No,
for
yeah. Instead of making it a subtle leitmotif, let's just make the theme every time you complete the level. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun,
put it in the-
dun,
They
dun.
really
say it.
wanted to build that for the
I'm
final
gonna
boss.
say it. Secret Rings
it off.
is easily one of the worst Sonic games. No competition.
I mean, that's a
yeah.
very common opinion.
Yeah,
so-
I think Secret Rings and
I
Free
actually like it,
Riders.
and I agree.
Free Riders also, because
Free
it doesn't
Riders
work.
is my worst Sonic game because it actually gave me physical pain.
It
The
doesn't
other game was
work.
the opposite.
It doesn't even work. God.
I actually had my
Well, I
legs.
could
feel
say
like
that for
ass
Secret
for
Rings too. It doesn't work, man. The controls don't work, man.
I like the 2-player mode of Secret Rings more than the 1-player mode, so...
Yeah, Mario Party's pretty fun.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so this was really fun. I'm gonna close it off here because I know it's really
Final
late for you.
thoughts.
Yeah,
I guess the final thoughts.
yeah, we'll give final
overall.
thoughts. So my final thoughts for this game is that I think that it tried to tackle too much, and that it lost focus. Go figure. This is like a rehash of what I said about Sonic Adventure. But I wish that they would have focused more on the team gameplay and made it so you reserve your momentum throughout, instead of having it such stop and start and making you go through like the same levels 4 times with separate sections. They could have either made it so it's just like a couple stories that have a good amount of differences from each other and like made more levels and just focused on those and got rid of some of the jank, or B, I don't know. I don't remember where I was going with option B, but option I said it earlier.
My option B is have 3 teams or 2 and give
Oh yeah,
each
the
of them an
axe.
axe in his
Yeah,
own.
yeah. So it's just like I feel like this game could have been a lot more than it was, but at the end of the day, the game doesn't make me want to get better at it, unfortunately. And I'll probably finish up my playthrough of it just because it's been so long since I've gotten to the end of the game. I'm not too sure, but yeah, I just wish that the game would make me want to play it more. I would say is my biggest gripe with it. The amount of jank in it, the amount of times I get punished for things that don't seem like they're my fault at all. Good concepts, bad execution. Very small moments of times where I feel like it shines, and I actually feel that momentum, and I feel like I know what's going on, and then so many times where it just pulls it right away from you. I don't know. I just wanted more from this experience of playing Sonic Heroes, and we'll never get that because we know Sega, we know that they go to one thing one time, and then if it doesn't work out perfectly, then they'll never revisit it to like explore it further and refine it. So those are my final thoughts on Sonic Heroes.
That brings us to Lem.
For me, it's always been an awkward thing for me because since I've been attached to this game for too long, like I can appreciate everything the game gives, but I still will find flaws in things that I feel like are still justified despite my length of playing. And kind of like I said before, they could have. I do still feel like they could have done a lot more with all the characters, giving them unique things. Because one unique thing that I actually didn't mention was that with the pinball tables, each character has their own weight to them. Every character has their own individual weight. It's not like every power, every speed, every flight is unique. No, all the 12 characters have their own. And they could have done things with that, like let's say like the height or something of jumping, or like how fast they're going, rather than just like copying and pasting their actual stats to everybody. Like this is why I said earlier, where they could have done things where like when you level up more, or like when you get, if you were to get like upgrades to bring to farther stages to keep those abilities, like it would make the gameplay experience a lot more interesting. And honestly, given I speedrun, it would make the speedrun even more interesting, because the most frustrating thing in this game is when you're at the end of the level, you have to like do a bunch of things like enemies, and you die, and you have to do all of them at level 0. That is the most frustrating thing.
Yeah.
And they should have had some kind of way to at least make it so it's not like you're suffering, because it honestly does feel like you're suffering when you get to that point. But I don't know. This game it's not my favorite Sonic game. I play it more than a lot of others nowadays, but it's certainly not my favorite one. Like, I still put it above Adventure, or I still have like Adventure or Unleashed go above it. Like, it's not as high as people think I rank it. I just really like the movement and the tech in it that honestly makes it really satisfying to like zoom through, just because I have so much knowledge of the game.
Yeah.
But it's still gonna. What were you saying?
Yeah, so what you're basically saying is, like, as a game in a holistic sense, it's not your favorite, but as a speedrun game, it's one of your favorites.
Yeah, I just really enjoy the movement of it. Like, Chaotix is my favorite Sonic game, like, but that doesn't mean I like the movement in that game as much as others, because some games it just feels better just to do everything. And Heroes is a game that I just like doing everything in.
Yeah.
Just because I know what's coming.
And to add on to what I said earlier, I just wish there was more of that balance between someone who's just played it a little bit and someone who's put 2,000 hours into the game.
Yeah.
And like, it made me, I wish there was a point in the game where it made me want to put 2,000 hours into the game to get to the level that someone like you is at, where they can enjoy all those things. And I genuinely mean that, because I don't want to like dislike a game, like so. And it just kind of goes back, like, right back into the focus, like, having more individual, like, attributes for these characters and limiting how many of them there were would probably make that a little bit more feasible for the team.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you can go ahead, RC.
Yeah, my final thoughts, I think I can boil it down pretty simple, that I think a lot of the level design is pretty good. But this, the team mechanic and the stop and start kind of feel like it detracts more than it adds to me. And I mean, the game killer is just that the game is just janky. It's a game that clearly feels like kind of stitched together and like it wasn't programmed correctly. And it kind of just brings the thing down for me. And like, I finished 2 teams, and I've completely had my fill. I'm not going to go back to Team Hero or Team Sonic or whatever. I think it's Team Sonic. I'm not going to go back to Team Rose, especially. I think one playthrough, ideally, if I had a save, I could just download a save file for Super Hard, and maybe once in a while I would play through that, but other than that, yeah, not fun enough for me to play through 4 campaigns. And I think what I'll give the game this much, I think it's good to move away from multiple playstyles that SA1 and 2 had. Those were kind of things of the early 90s or late 90s and early 2000s, where there were like a lot of playable characters and playstyles. That was hip back then. But I think it was a good idea to move away from that, and Sonic has stayed away from that ever since, except Unleashed with the Werehog, which I think is a good move. I like games that just focus on one playstyle instead of like having 3 different genres or whatever in one game. But yeah, it's just not polished enough. It's pretty frustrating, and it's especially not fun to complete. So, like, you would think if there's the core of good level design, which is one of the most important things in a platformer, right? Level design is a huge one. It's generally pretty good and solid, and it's got a lot of cool moments, but it's just brought down and muddied under the fact that the game is just rough, very rough, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so it's like good ideas, bad execution. It rounds out. I wouldn't say it's a bad game, but it rounds out to like, if I had to put it on the scale, it would be like a 5 to a 6 out of 10, I'm afraid.
It's definitely the justified game that made people like start to wonder if this was the quote unquote dark age of Sonic.
Yeah,
because
I hear some people say they don't think that, but I think
it's very 50.
I think Heroes is the start of the downfall. You feel like something's going wrong. How can you get a sequel to SA2 with controls that are way worse? Obviously the engine is the thing and the multiplat, but
This is why I say I kind of rate Sonic and Sonic Heroes and Shadow like both between like a 5 and a 6 out of, or like a 5 out of 10.
yeah.
Because they each give and take. Yeah, so I don't really
Yeah, I
know
mean,
which one I prefer over the
I
other.
feel like a sequel should never have worse controls, right? And Heroes just got. I mean, I guess you could say subjectively you like SA2's controls less than in 1, but the controls in SA2 are good.
They're good, yeah.
You know? Yeah. And so are they in SA1. But then in Heroes, it's like such a downgrade in terms of controls. And for a sequel, that's just.
A
Oof.
big thing.
And they
A
never
big thing
fixed it. Shadow still doesn't have great controls. 06 doesn't have great controls. None of the boost games have great controls, although they need less of it. But
A
we've
thing
never
that
got
people,
good controls again, like in SA1 and 2. Never.
Mm.
I think a thing people overlook with the movement of SA1 and SA2 is character weight. Like characters actually have the weight to them. Like when you're slightly on an incline, you're not going to move much. When you're on a steep one, you'll go down more. That you feel that in SA1 and 2. You get that. But with a lot of Sonic games, especially like nowadays, you kind of move, but you don't feel nearly as much weight as one should. Because like when you're as big in SA1, you feel how heavy it is. You feel how slow it is. It makes sense. But like Heroes, like it has the weight, but like it's like halfway there to actually being accurate to how it should be, like how SA1 and 2 had it.
Yeah, getting to know your jump arcs in Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 are like infinitely easier than in Sonic Heroes and stuff as well.
Yeah, and like, why did they never get the controls really right again after SA1 and 2, which were their first 3D games?
Because they don't care to. They want to try something different, and then if it doesn't work, they're gonna move on to the next thing, and that's been Sega's thing since then. You know,
I mean, SA1 and 2 are their first 3D games, and they have better controls than every 3D Sonic that came after it.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
Yeah, we went into that when we talked about Sonic Adventure 1 and Sonic Adventure 2 in the previous podcast too.
Yeah, and I mean, with Mario 64, pretty janky movement in some places, right?
Yeah.
But Sunshine refined it, and Galaxy toned it down. You can't do as much, but still very functional, solid, polished controls. And all the Mario
finally
games
got it
do.
right.
Yeah, Odyssey is the magnum
Yeah.
opus. So.
Yeah, but I mean, 64 was janky. Sunshine fixed it.
Yeah.
And they never got worse. They got more limited, but they didn't get like.
Yeah, they didn't deteriorate the effectiveness and how well it felt.
Yeah, and with Sonic, it's just like every Sonic game. Heroes doesn't have great controls. Shadow doesn't have great controls. 06 doesn't have great controls. Unleashed doesn't. The boost games, Lost World doesn't have great controls as far as I'm concerned. The storybook games don't have great controls.
Yeah.
I mean, Heroes, the first one is good, but that's a different genre. So.
Yeah. All right. So I would say that this is probably a good place to end off with our final thoughts on. Yeah, we'll wrap it up. Why don't you guys Okay, ST, thanks for joining us.
Whoopsie.
Why don't you guys go ahead and tell them where they can find you?
Sure. You can find me on Twitter and YouTube at Retropolis Zone on Twitter. and just Retropolis Zone on YouTube. I am gonna do a Sonic Adventure 2 review pretty soon. A re-review. I've done it like 6 years ago when I just started the channel, but those videos are cringy, and you need to don't look those up. I'm gonna be redoing Sonic Adventure 2, but generally I don't really do a lot of Sonic content. I do like more niche shit like Ninja Gaiden, which I like a lot more, but it's obviously less popular. So if you're gonna go to my channel, don't expect necessarily Sonic or yeah. But yeah, that's it basically.
Awesome.
And you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Twitch, you can find me on YouTube. I go by just Lemurs on all of them. You're going to find pretty much only Sonic at the time, and when you don't, you're probably either going to find Persona, you're going to find Mario, or you're going to find Kingdom Hearts. And that's probably all you're going to find, because I do not play many varieties of games besides just the ones I'm already used to. And if you go on my Twitter, be warned, there's too many memes. And for my Twitch, you'll just find me probably speedrunning either this game or SA1. And my YouTube, you'll find where those runs from Twitch are actually successful, because in Twitch, there's too many times I fail. Don't worry about those ones.
Sweet.
And yeah, that's me.
Where can we find you, Juice?
Well, for those of you who are new here, you can find me at juice_polydot on Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram, and you can join the Discord, which I will put in chat now, which is discord.gg/thejuicebox, where I host weekly events.
Oh, thank you, Blue Blur.
So if you like Sonic Adventure 2, or if you like Final Fantasy, I'm a huge Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 9 nerd, which I
Oh, this man knows my language.
yes. So you can check me out on any of these.
Final Fantasy 9 right now. Let's
no,
go.
wait, that's a ways away. Don't worry, we'll get
Let's
there.
go. Let's go. So I really like Garnet's ass. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god.
Okay, no. Let's cut it. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah. So if you liked stuff like this, obviously you can find this podcast later on YouTube and on Spotify. It should be up within the next 2 days. Very give big thanks to Just Lemres and RZ here for being on the show, and I'm looking forward to having them on for future episodes. So thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. And
thanks, chat, for being here.
Yeah, so that is going to be it, guys. Thank you for coming to the Juicecast, Episode 3 on Sonic Heroes. Sayonara.
Peace. My webcam is over there, not there.